meeting for the 74th time with a series all even. These two teams combined for 94 points in last year's shootout, over 1,200 yards of total offense, as Baylor almost blew a 20-point lead but held on to win by 2. Cliff Kingsbury's team 3-1 on the season. A heartbreaking loss to TCU last week. They scored 52 points and lost in that game in the final seconds. Baylor at 3-0. Art Briles led his team to an 11-win season last year and the year before. But they haven't played anybody yet this year. We'll start to find out more about the Bears here today.
Yeah, we'd like to welcome the Baylor Bears to the college football season. Games against Lamar, SMU, and Rice. A nice preseason for Seth Russell, who's been up and down. Although last week against Rice kind of got his rhythm. But Big 12 play starts now. And this is a team with designs on a national championship. And the edge of Art Briles after losing that Cotton Bowl by 1 point to Michigan State a year ago. That's been the motivation for him all offseason.
That, along with being left out of the college football playoff despite the one loss at West Virginia. Baylor won the toss, elected to receive. No surprise. They want their offense out there early and often. Two of the fastest offenses in college football and two of the highest scoring attacks. And they got speed everywhere, including this guy, K.D. Cannon, who is a track star at Baylor as well. And he'll be the return man for Baylor in the opening kickoff. Clayton Hatfield will put it away for Texas Tech. And here we go. Short kickoff taken on the goal line by Zamora. And he is out past the 30-yard line. There's a flag down. Zamora down the sideline. Pushed out of bounds in Texas Tech territory. But again, a penalty marker down. Great return by Zamora, but looks like it's going to get wiped out.
During the return, holding pursuing team number 21. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Fifth career start for Seth Russell, replacing Bryce Petty as the starting quarterback at Baylor. He leads the country in passing efficiency through 3 games, and he's tied for the most touchdown passes in the nation with 15. Leads the country with 14 pass plays of 30 yards or more. He had 6 passing touchdowns last week against Rice. And as we showed you, he played for an injured Petty in the game against Texas Tech last year for a touchdown pass in the win. As good as he is throwing the ball, Baylor is just as good running the football. We'll get to that later. Good D by Texas Tech on the pass to the flat. K.D. Cannon wrapped up after a short gain by J.J. Gaines.
And Seth Russell's been dealt about as good a hand that you could be dealt in all of college football with the weapons he has on the outside. But you're right, it's this offensive line with all 5 returning starters.
Here's Linwood. And Linwood able to shake a tackler and get out across the 20-yard line. So it'll bring up a third down here, and this is for Texas Tech to have any shot. They've got to force at least a couple punts. Drew Galitz, the Baylor punter, has only kicked 5 times in 3 games. They'll keep it on the ground on third down, and it's an easy first down for Linwood, and it might be a touchdown. Inside the 20, touchdown Baylor. A 79-yard run by Shock Linwood, his 5th rushing touchdown already this year. Buckle up, folks. It's going to be like this all day.
It's just so explosive when you have to, especially in a third down situation, you have to respect the speed on the outside of Corey Coleman, K.D. Cannon, Jay Lee, and then you get these big guys up front. Spencer Drango right there, 58. Colbert, Broxton on the right side get a great combo block up to the second level, and Shock Linwood speed to the end zone.
How about Texas Tech makes 2 good plays on first and second down, 1 mistake on third down, and it's 6 points plus the point after from Chris Callahan.
This is what Art Briles wants to see, physical runs inside. You're going to see 2 guys come off to the second level. That's Sherrell Broxton, Pat Colbert. Then he comes off. Colbert comes off and gets the block, and bad angles in the secondary for Texas Tech, and it's difficult to stop.
Baylor averaging 380 yards on the ground per game, and they just got 79 on 1 play.
And we talked about the edge of Art Briles, and in the 2 games they lost a year ago, on the road to West Virginia and then here against Michigan State in the Cotton Bowl, they struggled to run the football, and that was what Art Briles really wanted to stress in the offseason. And some of those inside power plays can turn into those explosive 40-plus yard plays as well.
And it's not even needing those 40-yard plays. It's the 3rd and 2 against good rush defenses. Can they move the chains in those situations? Jakeem Grant, who has scored 4 different ways this year: kick return, passing, receiving, rushing touchdown. They're going to kick it as far away from him as they possibly can, but now they're going to throw it back to him. Batson throws it to Grant, and Grant breaks a tackle. Knocked out of bounds at the 45-yard line.
Well, you got to pull out all the stops if you're Cliff Kingsbury. Here it comes. He's going to throw this ball all the way back. And look at all the defenders headed this way. Great call on the first kickoff of the game, because you know that Baylor's going to be amped up and they want to come hit somebody and get the ball in your most explosive player's hands. Jakeem Grant almost takes it the distance.
So good starting field position for Patrick Mahomes, a sophomore. Has played very well this year for Texas Tech. He was banged up last week in their loss against TCU, but he's good to go, according to the coaches, to run the entire offense. DeAndre Washington, they tried to tackle him up high, and he broke it and picked up about 3 yards. Mahomes has accounted for 16 touchdowns on the season. That is tied with Seth Russell, the Baylor quarterback, for the most in college football through the opening month.
Well, in the game a year ago, he threw for 600 yards and 6 touchdowns against Baylor, so he's not afraid.
On 2nd and 8, here's Washington, and wrapped up at the line of scrimmage. No gain on the play, and it was Sean Oakman, 6'9", 275 pounds. Going to be a high draft pick. Came back for his senior season. Made the tackle there, gain of 1.
Oakman and Billings, the 2 guys up front on this Baylor defensive line, have got to have a big game.
Mahomes has time on 3rd down. Everybody covered. Now Mahomes fires it deep, and it's caught, and it's a touchdown. Zach Austin got behind the D. 55 yards for Texas Tech. We've had 2 third-down plays, and both have been touchdowns here in 2 minutes and 18 seconds.
Like I said, Mahomes had 600 yards and 6 touchdowns in the game a year ago, and it was because of extended plays just like this, by enough time to get a one-on-one downfield, and that time the safety, Orion Stewart, misplayed the ball.
12th touchdown pass of the year for Mahomes, and the first catch all season for Zach Austin. One after from Hatfield ties the game.
Well, partner, I hope you got your touchdown calls ready. We're going to have a lot of them in this game.
Pass me a couple throw lozenges, would you?
ESPN, home of the college football playoff.
Undefeated teams clash tonight on ABC at 8 Eastern as Notre Dame visits Deshaun Watson and Clemson. The Irish ranked 6th. The Tigers number 12. Should be a terrific game. Heavy rain expected, especially in the second half. Obviously no weather to deal with here, but Kickoff by Texas Tech taken deep in the end zone from Cannon. It will come out to the 25.
You got to get pressure on Patrick Mahomes. This is the route. He's just going to come down. But look at the pass rush here. LaRaven Clark, the left tackle on Sean Oakman. He stones him. You get a chance to extend the play, Mahomes here, and look downfield. Orion Stewart just loses. You don't expect to have to cover for that long if you're a DB. Misplays, misjudges the ball. If Baylor is going to play better defense, not just in this game, but this season, they have got to get pressure on the quarterback with Oakman and Billings in particular.
They run it on first down. Here's Linwood into the secondary again. Brought down at the 30-yard line. A 5-yard run. Had Laquan McGowan at 6'7", 410 pounds. The largest fullback you'll ever see in their blocking.
Well, I don't think you can miss him, but keep an eye on McGowan in this football game.
Taken down in the backfield is Corey Coleman. A wide receiver they will sometimes line up as a tailback, and Demetrius Alston was right there to greet him. 3rd down and long.
Great play by Alston up front. Rika Levy, Brandon Jackson, Pete Robertson. This front for Texas Tech is going to be challenged throughout the course of this game. They're going to give up yards and they're going to give up points. Can they get the turnovers that they need to compete in this game?
Out of an empty set, here comes pressure on 3rd down. Russell going deep. It's pulled in by Coleman. Brought down at the 30-yard line.
Texas Tech brought pressure. They just get Corey Coleman matched up one-on-one, and very difficult to stay with him. One of the most explosive players in all of college football, and nice job by Seth Russell recognizing blitz.
Russell going to go to the end zone here. Incomplete. Off the fingertips of Katie Cannon.
Ball's thrown a little bit to the outside. Difficult catch for Cannon. This Texas Tech team is going to continue to bring pressure, mix up their coverages. They're going to play zone, man. They've got to bring some pressure, mix their front from a 3-down and a 4-down. Just try to keep this new quarterback off balance.
Here's Johnny Jefferson, their number 2 running back. He's inside the 30-yard line for about 3 yards. Brought down by Dakota Allen.
Just going back to Laquan McGowan. You mentioned at 410 pounds, there is not a bigger player in all of college football. And for him to be in a fullback position, in a tight end, H-back, a very versatile player, something we've never seen before.
Caught his only pass last year as Cannon makes the catch here and scores. Touchdown, Baylor. Couldn't come up with the deep ball thrown a couple of plays ago. Nice grab that time.
A great grab and a great throw. 2 times. Good recognition by Seth Russell on that particular series, recognizing blitz, man-to-man coverage, and throwing a catchable ball. 1 for Coleman, and then the touchdown for Cannon.
Chris Callahan on for the point after. 14-7 Baylor. 4 minutes in, we've got 3 touchdowns already. Seth Russell with his FBS leading 16th touchdown pass. A strike to Katie Cannon. Baylor with the lead early on.
ESPN's College Football on ABC. Brought to you by Buick, proud partner of the NCAA. And Cooper Tires. Visit CooperTire.com or a Cooper Tire dealer today.
'74th meeting between Texas Tech and Baylor. Series all even, 36-36-1. And Baylor with a 14-7 lead, 4 minutes in. So far, the Bears have run 9 plays. The Red Raiders have run 3 plays. If you like defense and punting, change the channel. And here's a pooch kick fielded at the 28-yard line. A fair catch signal made, so Texas Tech will start there. Let's check in with Tom Luginbill down on the field.
Well, what we've seen the first two series, guys, is what both of these offenses want to do, and that is spread you horizontally to create ideal one-on-one matchups. You look at this formation for Baylor right here with K.D. Cannon in the slot. Those are defined reads for quarterback Seth Russell. Texas Tech right now playing right into the hands of Baylor by giving them the numbers that they want on the perimeter and the numbers they want in the box to run the game, to run the football. So with Baylor and with Texas Tech, pay close attention today to those splits offensively for both teams.
And again, Tech scored 52 last week and lost to TCU. Here's a throwback to Washington, the running back, and he is ripped down at the 29-yard line. Penalty marker is thrown. That's Xavier Howard, a corner up there in support. Made the tackle.
That was a great play by Howard, because I like the design from Cliff Kingsbury. The offensive line doesn't move, and the defense chases the quarterback, and they're in perfect position for the screen.
Holding offense number 75. 10-yard penalty. It's first down.
You just can't hold when you get out there. Right. That's Jared Castor. This defensive line for Baylor is going to challenge this offensive line and Jared Castor. You see him there holding, but you got three guys out there, and Xavier Howard just splits them.
So first down and 20 now for Texas Tech. Here comes pressure. Mahomes over the middle, and man, they had a big play set up. If Mahomes could connect with Devin Lauderdale, it's incomplete, second down.
He's wide open because it's an all-out blitz. They bring all the linebackers, Taylor Young, Grant Campbell, and that gives you a sense, Dave, as to the aggressive nature of Phil Bennett, the defensive coordinator for Baylor. First down and 20, and he brings an all-out pressure. If they complete that pass, it might be a touchdown, but that's the way that Phil Bennett is going to play in this game.
On second and 20, pressure again. Mahomes, and the catch made at the 35-yard line. Jonathan Giles on the grab. It'll bring up third down. That's really what separates, even though Baylor gave up 15 yards there, what separates Baylor from some of these other high-octane offenses is they've got a defense, too. Washington broke a tackle and picked up the first down to the 40-yard line. Blanchard on the stop. And you got two guys in Billings and Oakman who will play in the NFL on the defensive line, and then there's some young skill like Taylor Young, who was the newcomer of the year in the Big 12 last season. Xavier Howard.
Yeah, they lost two really good linebackers. Bryce Hager was an all-conference linebacker. Colin Brentz was their nickelback, and Phil Bennett is trying to replace both those guys with Grant Campbell and Trevon Blanchard. Blanchard's a young player in that nickelback position. They're going to be tested by Cliff Kingsbury, Pat Mahomes, and especially DeAndre Washington in this game.
Here's Washington getting the carry. Nice move there. Cut to his left and picked up about 7 to the 46 before Campbell made the tackle. And Washington's a good player. He rushed for over 1,000 yards last season, had almost 200 yards, and had 4 touchdowns against TCU a week ago. Out on the flat to Jakeem Grant. He gets the first down and more. Inside the 45-yard line. 5'6", 170 pounds, and he's one of the most dangerous players in college football.
Well, I'm talking with Cliff Kingsbury before the game. He said Jakeem Grant has the best start-stop ability of anybody he's ever coached. And he also said he wanted to isolate DeAndre Washington on the Mike linebacker Grant Campbell in the passing game.
Quick toss to Washington inside the 40-yard line before he's clocked to the ground by Blanchard. Got a handful there. Mahomes completes 63% of his passes. A lot of those tosses are short, but we saw that deep ball thrown to Austin earlier for the touchdown.
And he looks like he's moving around okay, Dave.
Yeah.
That injury from last week, a contusion, kind of made him a little sore and stiff, not holding him back in this game.
Mahomes flushed out of the pocket and throws it away. Well, Cliff Kingsbury did a good job of keeping the media and us guessing as to whether Mahomes would play. It was thought that he had a left knee injury. He was injured in the first quarter of the TCU game, but played the entire contest. But he actually took the bulk of the snaps, we're told, in practice this week. We saw him warming up. There were no coaches watching him to see how he was moving, no trainers around him. He's fine. Empty backfield here on third down.
It's like all-out blitz.
And the catch is made short of a first down, though, but breaking the tackle is Lauderdale. That pinball back near the line of scrimmage, brought down at the 40-yard line. So instead of 4th and 1, you're 4th and 5. Too long for a field goal, and so Texas Tech will go for it.
That was difficult there because it looked like he was close to the first down, but he got slung back, and he just kept his feet, tried to get back to the first down yardage, but unable to get there.
Got an injured Baylor player, can't see the number.
Good recognition of the blitz. Throw to Lauderdale on the outside. Almost gets there. Nice job in the secondary. Ryan Reed throwing him back, but there's no question in this style of game that Cliff Kingsbury, or the 4th down on plus territory, that he'll be going for this every single time.
Ryan Reed was the man injured on that play. Texas Tech will go for it on 4th down and 6. They are 3 of 5 on the season on 4th down.
Well, Ryan Reed, starting corner. If I'm Pat Mahomes, I'm going to find out where is his replacement. It's Tion Wright, especially on a 4th down here.
And there was movement by the left guard. Alfredo Morales came up out of his stance.
Offense, number 56. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
And now Texas Tech is going to punt. And you see Sean Oakman rev up at 6'9", 275. It's hard not to move.
He's got such a great first step, and he's got such length. And they put him on the inside. Talking with Phil Bennett, they want to do that a little bit more to get him on a guard or a center. Puts a lot of pressure.
So after the penalty, Semank punting. And this is a good one. It checks up, and then Baylor touched the ball. The Bears recover it. Wow. Orion Stewart already made one mistake. On defense, he let a Texas Tech receiver get behind him. Almost made another one. Obviously didn't need to touch it. For some reason, he decided to. And almost a turnover, but Tech will take, or Baylor will take over inside the 10-yard line. Aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Dave Pasch, Brian Greasy, Tom Luganbill at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, where Baylor has a 14-7 lead. The Bears ranked 5th in the country, playing their Big 12 opener. Texas Tech played its conference opener last week and almost knocked off TCU. Good punt by Tech, pins Baylor inside its 10, and here's Linwood on first down, big hole. Linwood finally stopped at the 17. We go to Cassidy Hubbard in the studio.
Dave, Taco Bell studio update. Dalvin Cook with a 94-yard touchdown, 3rd longest run in FSU history. Seminoles up 7-0 over on ESPN. Dave, Brian?
And pitch and catch, first down. Jay Lee on the grab. Across the 25-yard line. Cassidy did a good job there. Got to be quick. Got to talk fast in these games, right, Grace? And she did it. Got that highlight in about 7 seconds and got it back to us in time for the snap. Wide receiver screen. Coleman grabbed at the ankles at the 30-yard line. A 3-yard pickup. There's Kendall Briles, who is the play caller. He got the job last year when then offensive coordinator Philip Montgomery took the Tulsa job. So his first game calling plays was in the Cotton Bowl last year against Michigan State.
High energy from Kendall Briles.
Art Briles' son, of course. Linwood wrapped up after a short gain, so 3rd down coming up.
Right now, Kendall Briles, the number one thing he's got to do is set the personnel grouping. Now, he hasn't changed personnel right now because he doesn't want to get the defense an opportunity to do so. They pop one out to Corey Coleman right here. Now they're going to get the first down. Now watch Kendall Briles start to speed things up. He knows with the first down, he's dictating tempo now. So they got their personnel grouping. He's got their formation. They're going to spread you thin. Then Seth Russell's going to get the call. Seth Russell's starting to get every personnel call and every formation call before the ball is even spotted, guys.
Russell to the air on first down. Facing some pressure, steps up. Pretty good athlete. Crosses the 45. Into Tech territory. Fumbled the ball, but he was out of bounds at the 38-yard line.
Pretty good athlete. I'd say he's a great athlete. One of the better athletes on this team. And people don't realize how quick he is, how fast he is, and how athletic he is. But certainly, as Tom mentioned, this tempo, the receivers also have to get that signal from the sideline from Kendall Briles. Seth Russell gets it, communicates it to the offensive line, and they go as fast as possible.
Designed quarterback run. Russell upended at the 35. Gain of 3 on the play. Brandon Jackson made the hit.
And there's no question this offense can be faster with Kendall Briles calling the plays because he's on the field and he doesn't have to ask anybody for their input to call the plays. It's all on him. So from his mind to the field, that's as fast as it can possibly get.
What was interesting too, Brian, we were at practice on Thursday. They have music blaring throughout practice, and part of the reason why is so that the players get used to the hand signals because of the crowd noise. And that's so much of what this is just getting those signals in quickly.
With contact, defense, number 90.
Offside penalty on Texas Tech will make it a 2nd and 2.
It's one of the beauties of the system is that the crowd noise is taken completely out of the equation because you're just looking to the sideline, getting that signal. Now, you're only as good as all of your skill players on offense knowing the signals, too. So you got to keep it pretty simple, which is what Art likes to do.
Linwood picks a hole, has a first down, pushes the pile inside the 25-yard line.
Now pay attention to the linemen here. They're the only group that doesn't look to the sideline. They're on their own time. They're going to get set. They're just waiting for verbal cues from Seth Russell. Everybody else has a sideline responsibility to get their play and get set.
Wide open is the tight end Penning, but he could not hang on. Right through his hands.
This is the challenge. You get so much perimeter, so much speed, so much space, and then all of a sudden you get an inside fake and you sneak a tight end downfield. That was a missed throw from Seth Russell, but that's the great dagger when you're starting to worry about everything sideline to sideline, and then you sneak somebody out of the backfield.
The play clock's actually inside 20. I think this is the first time for either team. Russell over the middle. That one is incomplete. And Cannon couldn't hang on to one earlier and looked like that pass was on the money there. With gains in coverage, so it's 3rd down.
You know, the one question I had about Seth Russell coming into this game was his accuracy. He had been a little bit erratic in the first 3 games. Really good last week against Rice. But so far, he has been on the money. That ball should have been caught by Cannon for a touchdown.
11th play of the drive coming up. 3rd and 10. This will be huge for Texas Tech if they can get a stop. Russell over the middle. No. Touchdown. Corey Coleman. Man, was he open in the middle of the defense. That is 9 receiving touchdowns for Corey Coleman to lead the country. 23 yards.
Boy, we said coming into this game, we're going to find out something about Baylor. I hadn't played anybody of any kind of significance in the first 3 games of the year, and we felt like this was going to be their first true test. And Cliff Kingsbury's group, at least on the defensive side, not proving to have much more than Rice, Lamar, or SMU in the way of stopping this offense.
And nobody near these receivers. Extra point makes it 21-7. Remember, Baylor started on its 8-yard line, marches down the field, and Seth Russell with another touchdown pass, his 17th of the country, hitting Corey Coleman, his favorite target. Take all of ESPN's great college football action with you with Watch ESPN. Stream every game live. Just download the app or go to watchespn.com. Beautiful day outside here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Temperature in the high 70s. Always perfect inside Jerry's world.
And interesting to see this game in the rain that most of the country is getting. I know that David Gibbs, the defensive coordinator for Texas Tech, would have liked to see this game in the rain.
Although I don't know that anything has slowed down this Baylor offense or anybody. I know you picked them before the season to be in the national championship. Another pooch kick. This one's going to hit the ground and fielded at the 24-yard line. So Texas Tech will start there. And so At this point, if you're the Red Raiders, you're thinking you got to score here. I mean, you can't get down 3 scores. If you end up punting more than twice in this game, you're probably going to lose.
Well, they don't need to panic, right? Last year's game, they were down 42-17 midway through the third quarter against Baylor, and they came back and almost tied the game if they would have got a 2-point conversion at the end. So there's no need to panic, but certainly you need to get something going offensively here on this drive.
Last drive stalled. They had a 4th down and 6, which, believe it or not, is manageable for Texas Tech, but then there was a false start. So instead of going on 4th and 11, they punted. Cliff Kingsbury in his 3rd year as the head coach at Texas Tech. Mahomes throwing it to Lauderdale, and no gain on the play. Well defended by Baylor. KJ Smith on the tackle. They've got a good defensive line. We talked about Billings and Oakman, but you also have KJ Smith and Jamal Palmer, a guy that played very well last year until he suffered a knee injury, missed the rest of the season. They'll rotate Smith and Palmer, and we'll see Taylor Young, a linebacker. Number 1, you see him there at the 30-yard line. Sometimes he'll line up almost like he's an outside linebacker at the line of scrimmage. Mahomes wide open. Catch made by Lauderdale. Big hit by Stewart. 16-yard gain
by Lauderdale, and takes a big hit. Stewart came in, and it's a good no call by that official.
Washington straight ahead, gets 2.
You know, we talk about, a lot of times we talk about these officials and the targeting calls, and that's a perfect scenario there with a defenseless wide receiver and a safety coming in to hit him, and it happens so fast that sometimes we don't give these officials enough credit for not throwing that flag. Another zero pressure look from Baylor on the defense.
He had no safety deep. Mahomes. Incomplete. Tried to hit true freshman Tony Brown. So 3rd and 9 for Texas Tech. And it's 43.
And he threw that one a little bit before he needed to. Had enough time. He's got to remember, he's got a pretty good offensive line up front too. And the Raven Clark, the left tackle, has been doing a fabulous job on Sean Oakman. So Mahomes has time to survey the field and get the ball downfield.
Mahomes. Grant with the catch at the 42. Andrew Billings, who might be the strongest player in college football, was bearing down on Mahomes. He just lobbed that up there to Grant. It was wide open for 16 yards.
Yeah, and it's a nice job. He holds it just long enough to find that zone. And Jakeem Grant, anytime you need a big play, especially 3rd downs, Jakeem Grant will be the guy to watch.
On the Baylor 41-yard line. Play action. Mahomes looking downfield, slinging it deep. Diving attempt, but it's incomplete. Tony Brown couldn't come up with it. He beat the DB, unable to make a sliding catch.
Tony Brown, a true freshman. You have to make these plays. Doesn't matter that you're young. You're playing against one of the best teams in the country, and you've given up 21 points in the first quarter. That's got to be a touchdown for Tech.
They're really high on Brown from La Mirada, California, 6'2", 190-pound true freshman. And Mahomes has looked sharp so far. We got a timeout here with 2:58 to go in the first quarter. 21-7 Baylor.
Let's do installation.
Can Ole Miss keep it going? Ranked 3rd in the country on the road at the Swamp to take on Florida tonight. College football primetime presented by Hilton. Texas Tech on 2nd and 10. Mahomes steps up, dumps it off. Washington nowhere to go. They get him at the 37-yard line. A gain of 4 on the play. Xavier Howard made the stop.
And if I'm Pat Mahomes, I'm coming right back to that play. You have DeAndre Washington one-on-one or in the zone on every single play against this Baylor defense. Take advantage of that, especially in a 3rd down situation.
Mahomes to the sideline, and it was overthrown. He tried to hit Reginald Davis. See if Texas Tech goes for it on 4th and 6. They will.
Yeah, it's the same scenario they had on the last drive where they had the offsides, backed them up another 5, and they had to punt. So this is full go for Cliff Kingsbury.
And you know what Phil Bennett's going to do, right?
Full go for Phil Bennett, too. Here they come, right in the A-gaps.
The deepest guy on defense is at the 28-yard line right now. right at the sticks. Mahomes in trouble. Gets away from the defender. Lobs it downfield. And it's caught. And it's a touchdown. Cameron Batson scores for Tech. His first career touchdown on 4th down.
If you're going to bring an all-out pressure on defense, you cannot lose contain of the quarterback, because the defensive backs back there are expecting the ball to come out fast. If you lose contain and the quarterback extends the play, you're dead.
That was a pretty impressive throw by Mahomes.
Yeah, going across his body. Unbelievable throw.
That's the 2nd touchdown pass for Mahomes today. 13 on the year. There are 3 penalty flags there. Mahomes last year a conference record for a freshman, threw 6 touchdown passes, almost 600 yards against Baylor in a 2-point loss. He was sacked on a 2-point play that would have tied the game.
Prior to the snap, illegal substitution, 12 men on defense. That's half the distance to the goal. Will reattempt the try.
Now the kick was good, but referee Reggie Smith is saying to Cliff Kingsbury, kick it again.
Kick it again, or he can take the penalty and then go for it if he wants to.
Dead ball prior to the snap.
Oh, a dead ball prior, that's why.
Half the distance to the goal and reattempt the try.
Yep. So there was no attempt. That play never happened. So Hatfield on now for the extra point.
Great
moving
answer.
half the distance to the goal.
Great answer for Texas Tech.
Yes.
When you're down 2 touchdowns early in this game, you need to get your defense a little bit of rest. Great job by that offense, finding a way to get the football in the end zone.
It also shows you that that penalty that they had on the previous drive on 4th down and 6 was big, because they didn't go for it. They punted. They just scored here on 4th down and 6. Batson with a catch.
Well, take a look. Talked about you got to get home if you're going to bring all-out pressure. This is Grant Campbell on the edge. He's going to come after Mahomes. Mahomes just buys enough time to get outside, and look at the coverage downfield. They can't hold up that long. Grant Campbell loses that contain, and now it's an easy touchdown for Texas Tech. But you said a great throw going across your body. So Campbell there misses it. You going left as a quarterback, it's very difficult to get your hips back in line and get that ball downfield. Impressive.
And Cliff Kingsbury, a former quarterback, knows how tough that throw was. And the moxie on 4th down, too, to make that play. Mahomes comes from good blood. His dad was a major league pitcher for 12 years. There's Phil Bennett's reaction, the D coordinator.
He's saying, what happened to the rush? Well, they got outside the rush. And then we talked about that. The loss of Colin Brentz and Bryce Hager at linebacker for Phil Bennett really cost him on that play.
Yeah, Hager made the St. Louis Rams 53-man roster at linebacker, and that's a really good defense that he's a backup on that team. Cannon from the 2-yard line. Penalty marker down. Cannon tackled at the 23-yard line. Good coverage by Texas Tech. Malik Jenkins made the special team stop.
Illegal wedge formation of the receiving team. More than 3 men moving forward in the blocking formation. That's half the distance to the goal. First down.
And Baylor's usually sound. They don't make a lot of mistakes, not a lot of penalties, but a foul there on the Bears. Here's Tom.
Well, Brian, you referenced Patrick Mahomes break and contain on the pressure there from defensive coordinator Phil Bennett, and that was the whole key to projecting whether or not Patrick Mahomes was going to take the field today, because if you're going to put him on the field, you have to have the full complement. His ability to create and improvise when things break down and force Baylor to have to defend the quarterback's ability to get outside the pocket. Without that play, without Patrick Mahomes' athleticism, based on a knee injury throughout the week, that play never gets made. So we're obviously seeing a very healthy Patrick Mahomes.
And now Baylor, Tommy, starts on its 11-yard line. The last drive began on its 8. And as you can see, Laquan McGowan is in at fullback at 400 pounds, and they run. They fake it and throw it down the sideline. Wide open. The catch made by Jay Lee. Lee will outrun the defender. Tripped up, comes up short. Tevin Madison saves a touchdown, but that thing almost went the length of the field. 88 yards.
Tevin Madison bit on a run fake in the backfield, and that's what got Jay Lee so wide open.
Hard to tell if he stepped up there at the 5. They rule him down at the 2-yard line. Hand off to Linwood. Went up over the top from the 2-yard line. Don't usually see a guy dive from that far out. And he landed. I mean, by the time he came down, he wasn't anywhere near the goal line. Seth Russell. Boy, look at McGowan. Touchdown, Baylor.
Why didn't they give it to the big man? They will, trust me. Our Browns will have that play in, but what a response by Baylor. And if you're Texas Tech, you know, you get back in this game, and then you have a mental error on defense, and you got the big man pushing you in.
Yeah, you remember the Bush push? I don't know what we want to call this one, but and if you're Seth Russell and that guy pushes you from behind, guess what? You're moving a few yards. He can just tap you and you're going forward. So Baylor's had 2 tries of about 90 yards, and it's 28-14. Not even done with a quarter here in Texas. This game all about big plays. Baylor with 3 plays at 35 yards or more. They just had an 88-yard pass that set up the touchdown run. And Texas Tech with a couple of big plays through the air. It's a 2-touchdown lead for the Bears right now. Spencer Evans, the kickoff man for Baylor. And Jakeem Grant is a 95-yard kickoff return for a touchdown is deep. They're going to kick it away from him. And it will go through the end zone. So a touchback. It will come out to the 25 for Tech.
Let's take a look at Tevin Madison. What was he looking at in the backfield? Here he is right here. He's going to bite on the fake in the backfield. Watch the fake and play action. And that's what allows Jay Lee to get behind the defense. What makes Baylor so deadly on offense? The marriage of the run game and the explosive speed down the field. And Tevin Madison, you can't ask him to do both of those things. Cover your man and let the interior players worry about the run game.
Brian, we keep seeing these DBs playing off. Are you better off against Baylor playing press and having guys up on the line of scrimmage?
No.
If you're a good defense.
Well, if you have the players, I mean, if you have a Vernon Hargraves or Tre'Davious White or somebody like that guy that can play man-to-man bump coverage, then I would say yes, but that's not what Tech has. So I would, if I'm Tech, play off, play a zone, and try to come up, keep things in front of you, and make the tackle.
Washington gets the carry, tackled in the backfield. Jamal Palmer was in there first for the Bears. We talk so much about Oakman and Billings, but let's give Palmer his due. He's only 250 pounds. He's a smaller defensive end compared to the other guys, as Mahomes dumps it off to Austin, juggled, incomplete. Austin had the touchdown for Texas Tech earlier in the quarter. That felt like 3 hours ago.
Well, you mentioned getting Jamal Palmer back off that knee surgery from a year ago. He had a season where he kind of didn't do a whole lot because of that injury. They got KJ Smith.
There is no foul for an ineligible downfield on the pass, as the pass was behind the line of scrimmage. Second down.
But this is a defensive front that's going to need Palmer. They're going to need KJ Smith, who's a very versatile player. And then you add in Byron Bonds, who's a junior at the defensive tackle position. It cannot just be Andrew Billings and Sean Oakman. They didn't have the depth a year ago to substitute on a regular basis, but this year they do.
Here they come with pressure. Mahomes airing it out, and the pass is incomplete. Another drop. This one by Jakeem Grant. Mahomes is dealing. I mean, he is putting it on the money on those deep balls, and that would have been an easy touchdown for Grant.
Well, they had the matchup they wanted on the linebacker, Trevon Blanchard. That's a mismatch. Grant knows it. They had exactly what they wanted. You just got to execute. And this is what Cliff Kingsbury said a week ago against TCU. The difference between winning and losing was not the effort, it was the execution. And that time Grant let him down.
3 drops, 2 that were sure touchdowns for Texas Tech. Simank with the punt. Coleman backing up. He'll field it inside his 15-yard line. And there's a flag down. Coleman is still going. Oh, man, he got a huge block. And Coleman is past the 40 and out of bounds. But again, this one's coming back. The flag's thrown at the 11-yard line. Terrence Singleton, the guilty man.
During the return, block in the back, receiving team number 24. Half the distance to the goal, first down.
I don't think half the distance to the goal matters too much for Baylor. They've scored twice now with the ball inside their 10. Easy call for the official. All right, so you said play some zone. If Texas Tech, is it, do you have to get turnovers now? Is that the only way that you're going to win takeaways?
I mean, Texas Tech was under no illusions, and their defensive coordinator, Dave Gibbs, he said, you know, we're not going to stop this team. They're going to score their points. They're going to get their yards. But we have to find a way to maybe cause some turnovers. You know, the one thing about this offense is it is a new quarterback. He's only started 4 games. Can we confuse him at all? And you're not going to confuse him if you just play man-free coverage, because the quarterback knows I can throw the ball up to my speed guy. Play a zone and make him think and execute and throwing windows.
Russell from the goal line, throwing deep again, incomplete. I thought that Katie Cannon was held. There's no flag, but I could have sworn I saw that jersey get tugged on. Let's see.
I think these officials are sympathetic to the Tech defense right now. I wouldn't call that either.
As Paul Banks the third. So second down.
Wide splits by these receivers. Look how wide they are outside the numbers, all of them. That normally says they're going to run the football.
And there it is. Jefferson tackled in the backfield. He was out of the end zone, so it's not a safety. Brought down around the 1 by Micah Robertson, actually. Robertson was right in the backfield to greet Jefferson to make the play.
Somebody needs to stand up on defense for Tech. And Pete Robertson, the senior, is their leader, unquestioned, on defense. Led the Big 12s in sacks a year ago. He has talent. Makes a play.
42 points, 508 yards of total offense between these two teams. So we've got 3/4 of this remaining. ESPN College Football will continue after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Tomorrow night, Priyanka Chopra stars in Sunday's new hit drama, Quantico. It's the show the press calls instantly addictive. Quantico tomorrow night at 10, 9 Central on ABC. Well, Baylor is 5 of 5 on third down so far, but they have a 3rd and 13 from their 2-yard line. They lead 28-14 after 1. Seth Russell with 2 touchdown passes. And Russell in trouble, gets out of the end zone and is across the 10, comes up short of the marker, and so Baylor will punt for the first time.
A big win for Texas Tech defensively. Not only do they get them backed up in field position, but they force a punt. Anytime this defense can get a punt, Cliff Kingsbury is happy.
This will be just the 6th punt for true freshman Drew Galitz this season. Baylor played SMU, Lamar, and Rice. The first 3 games averaged 64 points per game in those contests. The only problem for the Bears this year, penalties. They averaged 13 penalties per game. They had 3 in the first quarter. That didn't slow them down, though. 28 points. Cameron Batson, the deep man, fields it at the 40, goes backwards, and is taken down inside his 35-yard line. Take a look at the bright side, brought to you by CarMax. 74th meeting between these two schools. The last time Baylor has won 5 in a row. You got to go back 1947 to 1960. This is the 5th straight year that they have played here at AT&T Stadium. 7th straight year at a neutral site.
Well, this game's going to be crazy too. It should be two balls completed, not dropped by Texas Tech. This could be a tie ball game.
Yep. Grant dropped what would have been a touchdown in the last possession for Texas Tech. They fake the end around. Here's a screen, almost intercepted, and then caught by Stockton. Picks up a couple of yards.
You know, one of the positives about this Texas Tech sideline is that there's no panic. They're used to being in track meet type situations. You know, they miss a play here, they miss a play there. They figure they're going to get it back at some point. Just keep grinding, keep flipping field position, which they've done here. And by the way, guys, my Fitbit is malfunctioned.
Not the only one. Not many of those working today. Stockton wrapped up by Blanchard. They got away from him, though, and there might be a face mask. Blanchard with great effort, and then the penalty marker went down right when Blanchard was hog-tied at the 44. I think somebody got a hand in there and tugged on that mask.
Illegal block in the back.
Nope.
Offense, number 8. 10-yard penalty. Repeat, second down.
So that's on Tony Brown. That's 2 mistakes by Brown. He had a drop ball that would have been a touchdown earlier, and now the block in the back there.
And you wonder why coaches stay up at night when they have to play a bunch of true freshmen. That's football 101. And
tell you what, though, there should have been a face mask.
Crazy.
Should have been a face mask. Saw the replay there. Blanchard had a hold of it, and he definitely pulled on it. Here's Mahomes. Oh, wide open. Right at the sticks is Zach Austin. Has got 2 catches on the year. They've both been big plays. A touchdown and then a first down catch there.
That was great design there from Cliff Kingsbury. You know, watching this offense, it is a little bit different than what we see out of Baylor. They don't have the size and the inside running game like Baylor does, so they have to manufacture with more of the routes in the passing game on the outside. And very well designed 3-level flood there. That's why Austin was so wide open.
Mahomes came in 4th in the country in total offense per game, just under 400 yards accounted for. A run here and a broken tackle in midfield. Another one. Washington with great balance to the 42-yard line. The 13-yard run before Grant Campbell gets Washington down.
This offensive line gets just enough push. Billings, they brought a stunt, and Billings took himself out of the play.
They go back to him here, and Taylor Young had a hold of him. The ball came out. Young had a hold of Washington, then he lost the ball as he tried to get second effort. Orion Stewart forced a fumble, and Stewart is out of the pile with possession.
Rolling on the field is a fumble recovered by the defense, first down.
So a turnover by Texas Tech as Washington tried to get an extra yard or 2. And Stewart forced a fumble and recovered it.
Yeah, you love the extra effort from DeAndre Washington, but you got to secure the football. Great job by Orion Stewart. You get somebody wrapped up and you get a back going down, go for that ball, tackle the football. That's perfectly done by Orion Stewart. Give him credit. He was beat earlier in the game on a deep play, came back and made a big play for his defense.
That's 20 consecutive games now with a takeaway for Baylor's defense. First fumble of the year by Texas Tech. So here comes Seth Russell going back to work for the Bears. Junior quarterback making his 5th career start. 17 touchdown passes now in the season. Just 4 interceptions. Think of all the quarterbacks that have come through this system, going back to Kevin Cobb at Houston. RG3, of course. Petty last year. Run play. Linwood breaks a tackle into Tech territory. All the way to the 20-yard line. And then Jashawn Johnson gets into it with Linwood. No penalty flags thrown, though.
missed tackles in the backfield by Texas Tech defensively, and such a schematic advantage for Baylor and a numbers advantage when they run the football, and you add missed tackles to that and it's lethal.
40-yard run for Linwood. Russell over the middle, and Penning with the grab and a first down. He dropped one in the first quarter, pulled that one in, and it's 1st and goal from the 8 for Baylor.
We talk about Gus Penning. This team lost Trevon Armstead, starting tight end, who's 6'6", 275 pounds, and we've been talking about Laquan McGowan. The forgotten guy is Gus Penning, who's a good player.
Linwood into the end zone. Another Baylor touchdown. Second one today for Linwood.
Talked about the extra effort. DeAndre Washington, same thing for Shock Linwood. And they coach that. They coach keeping those knees off the ground as you reach out for the end zone. That was perfectly done from Shock Linwood.
6th rushing touchdown of the season for Linwood. They are going to look further at this to see if part of the lower leg was down before the ball crossed the plane. 16 rushing touchdowns for Linwood last year. They've had a 1,000-yard rusher each of the last 5 years, and Linwood, I'm sure, is going to get there this year. He's in.
Now the momentum swings. Turnovers for Texas Tech. It killed them a year ago. It was the turnovers and penalties that killed them a year ago. Cliff Kingsbury knows that. They have the talent on offense to compete with anybody, but when they turn the football over and put their defense in bad situations, they won't be able to win a whole lot of games. And you had a 2-score game there and an opportunity on offense to go down and make it a 1-score game, and that turnover might have opened this game up.
The ruling on the field of a touchdown is confirmed.
You know, Brian, Baylor has room for error, right? There's a margin for error. There are a couple drops by Baylor, but they go right back. And because there's such separation, talented receiver for Baylor versus Texas Tech's DBs, Baylor comes back and gets scores. Texas Tech, there's a lot more. There's not as much room for error, so those drops and the turnovers are magnified even more. And now it's a 3-touchdown lead for Baylor. 35-14. If it's not Russell through the air, it's Linwood on the ground. Very balanced attack of the 5th-ranked team in the country playing its Big 12 opener. Big one tonight on ABC. Certainly playoff implications with Notre Dame and Clemson squaring off at 8 Eastern. Saturday Night Football presented by Wells Fargo. Dave Pasch, Brian Greasy, Tom Luganville. Here in Arlington, Baylor on top 35-14, and we played only 3 minutes and 45 seconds here of the second quarter. Spencer Evans booting it deep. They kicked it away from Jakeem Grant. And they'll do it again. Batson takes a knee. It will come out to the 25. Now, we talked about Art Briles and his son Kendall calling plays. Here's some notable father-son duos as head coach and coordinator. Baum and Wade Phillips at New Orleans. Bobby and Jeff Bowden with the Seminoles for a handful of years. Lane and Monty Kiffin, USC and Tennessee. And the Shanahans, Mike and Kyle.
That's the one I was a part of. I was able to watch playing for the Denver Broncos and watching Kyle Shanahan come up under his father. And it was a very similar situation to what Art and Kendall are going through now. This is a business deal now. There's professionalism here that is expected from Art Briles. You see an incomplete pass and a flag down.
Yeah, it's just funny talking to Kendall. He keeps calling him Coach.
Yeah,
I mean,
Coach Briles, actually.
Coach Briles,
he doesn't call him Dad. He doesn't call him Art. He calls him Coach Briles. And you know, Coach Briles pulls no punches. He says, I expect production.
Offense number 75. 10-yard penalty Repeat first down.
It's the second penalty on the Tech center, Jared Castor.
But at the same time, we were talking with Kendall last night. He said, you know, the kids have a birthday or we have some time in the off season that Coach Briles comes over and I finally get to see him for who he is. He really is. And he lets his guard down as grandpa, you know, around one of the three kids for Kendall Briles.
That is the only time he sees him smile anymore, as Washington is met in the backfield by Taylor Young. A loss on the play.
There's no question that Art Briles has, you know, it was a question. Phil Montgomery leaves at the end of last year before the bowl game, and he goes to Tulsa, takes the head job, and Kendall's thrown right in the fire in the Cotton Bowl and holds his own.
Mahomes steps up on 2nd and 22. Boy, he could have run. Well, now he does. And out near the 27-yard line.
No, guys, the one thing that I say about being able to coach with a father, it's a privilege. But you have to dissociate yourself from being a father-son to being working colleagues, and then there's a boss, and then there's an employee. And one of these days, Art Briles, he'll decide to hang it up. And Kendall's going to look back and realize how fortunate he was to have a chance to work with his dad. It is a true privilege.
Well, you speak from experience, having coached with your dad, Al. 3rd down and 8 here for Texas Tech. Mahomes moving to his left. Now backing up. And going to unload into traffic. It's intercepted at midfield. Xavier Howard back inside the 15. Takes a seat inside the 10. 1st and goal for the Bears, and a penalty flag is thrown late.
It is so hard to play quarterback when you don't trust your defense and you think you have to make every single play. It's just about impossible. And Patrick Holmes let this roll, guys. You're going to see he's going to try to buy some time like he did on the touchdown earlier in the game. But then he forces the ball down the field. There's no chance of this ball being completed. And I think Patrick Holmes got a little capper on top of this, a late hit at the end of the play.
So a late hit on Baylor, they said. There it is, with Mahomes getting leveled by Grant Campbell. So Baylor will have the ball at its 25-yard line instead of the 10. As Justin Murphy, the right guard, was injured on the run back.
Oh, that's a dangerous play. You know, it's like a kicking play, but it's with big offensive linemen and big defensive linemen out in space where they don't typically operate, and sometimes you'll get those big guys that get hurt when you have interception returns. You see those turnovers, and last year they were one of the worst in the country.
They were -13 last year, +5 coming in. While we have a moment with the injury, let's check in with Cassidy back in the studio.
All right, Dave, let's take a look at who's getting it done, presented by Wells Fargo. And Derrick Henry goes 30 yards for 6, his 10th straight game with a rushing touchdown. Number 13, Alabama, up 10-3 in a soggy Athens, Georgia. Dave, Brian, back to you.
Who'd you pick in that game, Alabama or Georgia?
I had Alabama. Although I really like what Grayson Lambert has been able to do. I mean, not only the running game, everybody talks about Nick Chubb, but Grayson Lambert came into a very difficult situation. You have to introduce yourself to a new team, and he won the job. And not only that, now he's going out, he's playing well, he's seeing the field, reading defenses, but I just don't think that Georgia's going to be able to run the ball as consistently as some people think on that Bama front side.
A lot of teams with prove-it games today. Georgia, Clemson tonight against Notre Dame, right? Prove if you're for real, as Russell slides to the 19-yard line. A 6-yard run. And I know that Arkansas obviously is struggling, but for Butch Jones, it's kind of a prove-it game. And you got to beat somebody. They've had 2 games they've blown, last week against Florida and then against Oklahoma earlier in the year. Russell again got the first down, spun down at the 13-yard line.
Well, talk about proving it. Russell's proving it to me right now. He's operated at a high level coming into this game. It's not an easy scenario to take over for Bryce Petty, who was outstanding the last 2 years in this offense. A lot of pressure. He knows that he's got a championship caliber team around him. The only question mark was him, and he stood up.
Coleman slips a tackle in the backfield. Finally, 3 Red Raiders get him down for a 2-yard loss.
How nice is it to be able to put Corey Coleman in the backfield and just hand him the football? And I agree with the approach from Kendall and Art Briles. Don't just throw the football to him. He's too good of an athlete, too explosive a player. Get him the football as much as you can. If that means putting him in the backfield, he can run the inside stuff. He can run the slant and the belly. He can do all of that in addition to the perimeter speed.
You see big number 80 in there, Laquan McGowan. He's played a handful of snaps. They told us he'd get 15 to 20. We saw him. He's technically a tight end, even though he has 1 career catch.
He's too big to get in the stance there.
Another passing touchdown. Corey Coleman with the grab, and Baylor's got 41 points midway through the second quarter.
The big man tried to get down in his stance, and he almost got called for illegal procedure, but this is the staple for Baylor. The inside fake handoff, and then it's just like a drive-by shooting right behind that linebacker that has to respect that inside run, and it's an easy touchdown for Corey Coleman.
Baylor scored more than 80 2 years ago against Texas Tech. We might be headed that way here again today. Callahan's been a busy man. He was 10 of 10 last game for Baylor against Rice. And he's made all of his extra point attempts so far in this game. 42 to 14 Baylor. Now Tech did come back from a large deficit last year to make it close. We'll see if they can.
By BMW, we only make one thing, the ultimate driving machine. Goodyear, tires with a strong tradition of superior performance. And Northwestern Mutual, proud to be an official corporate partner of the NCAA.
Even the artwork is enormous here at Jerry World, and it's a great venue. We were here for the Cotton Bowl last year, and good turnout today for this Texas shootout between Baylor and Texas Tech. 42-14. 5 of the 6 touchdown drives for Baylor under 2 minutes. That one was 1:28. Seth Russell now with 18 touchdown passes on the year to lead the country. Another pooch kick. This is what, the 3rd time we've seen it. Fielded at the 30-yard line. Quentin White brought down to the 33.
It's so hard to be right against this Baylor attack. You're going to see just hard play action inside. Well, look at the safety. He's responding to this run fake, and this ball is right behind his ear in that window. Great accurate throw by Seth Russell. There was a free defender in the backfield. He gets that ball out, and want to get a high five from the ref. I don't know if that's such a good idea.
Hey, Matt Mills. The field judge said, you know I can't do that. Try telling him.
Well, Corey Coleman's got a lot of fans in Waco, but I don't think the official's going to be one of them.
Mahomes back to work. Short throw to Austin. Tackled near the first down marker at the 42-yard line by Chance Watts. We were talking with Art Briles yesterday about the demeanor of Seth Russell, because, look, the country doesn't know a whole lot about this kid. He did play in this game last year when Bryce Petty got hurt, but you think of all the guys that have come through this system. RG3 winning a Heisman Trophy here at Baylor. And Briles said Russell is unique. That might have been a backwards pass, so a run play. Stockton. Nice move, gets the first down.
Yeah, talk about Nick Florence, Bryce Petty, RG3, all type A personalities. But Seth Russell is very quiet. He's reserved. And, the thing for him is he can't be a leader, Art Briles says, until he proves that he can go out and produce. And that was really the only thing missing. And so far, he's done it.
Tony Brown does a good job getting to the 40, and a late penalty flag thrown right at the feet of Sean Oakman. Big
Raven Clark came back and got him, Dave.
It was interesting, too. We kind of remember Art Briles' system always being up-tempo, but talking with Baylor, they reminded us, hey, back when Kevin Cobb, they were at Houston, it wasn't as fast. Cobb would get the calls from the sideline, but when they went to the 40-second play clock, when that rule was changed a handful of years ago, then Art Briles said, hey, we want to be the fastest team in college football, and they are right now. They were up-tempo then, but obviously
There
now
is no
even
foul
more
for
so.
targeting on the play. It's second down.
I think it's the Raven Clark that comes in. Let this roll, guys. I think it's Sean Oakman is going to respond, and the Raven Clark gets him right there. Big hit. That's a big man at 6'6", 315 pounds. Peeling back on Sean Oakman. Oakman went to the sideline.
Mahomes pass over the middle, caught for a first down. Zach Austin getting a lot of work today inside the 35-yard line. Texas Tech faced a big deficit in last year's meeting. Ended up losing 48-46. They shift Justin Stockton into the backfield. And they'll hand it to Stockton off the right edge inside the 30. Stockton wrestled to the ground by Stewart, but after he gets a first down at the 22. Dave Pasch, Brian Greasy, Tom Luganville here at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. Two of the highest scoring teams in college football. Baylor playing its Big 12 opener. And look at that. Almost 700 yards of total offense. 56 points already. And we still have 2.5 quarters to go. Patrick Mahomes, weren't sure if he would start, but he did, and he looks healthy. Short pass to Washington out in space, dragged down inside the 20.
You know, the difference in this drive for Baylor defensively as opposed to previous drives is Baylor and defensive coordinator Phil Bennett are laying back a little bit. They're not coming after Texas Tech as often. Now, Texas Tech, when they get into a no-back set, empty set, Phil Bennett wants to come after him, and he has throughout the course of this game. But for this particular drive, this is allowing Patrick Mahomes and this offense to dink and dunk a little bit, get back into rhythm, start generating some confidence, and more importantly, take the ball out of the hands of the Baylor offense.
And Tom, just to clean up the flag, it was a chop block on Texas Tech.
Take a look right in the middle here. You see one guy go low, and then that's Morales, 56, that tried to get his hands back. He recognized that that player was being cut, brought his hands off of him. I think that was a poor call.
6th penalty by Texas Tech. 1st and 25. Wide receiver screen. A big hit. As Cutie made the catch, and he was leveled by Avion Edwards at the 38-yard line, so he lost another yard.
You know, a big part of this offense for Texas Tech are these quick screens, and Baylor has been outstanding on the edge. We've seen Ryan Reed make plays, Orion Stewart, and now Avion Edwards on the perimeter.
Mahomes pumps to his right, moving around in the pocket with Oakman chasing, and he tried to throw it away, and he almost threw an interception. K.J. Smith had pressure, and Xavier Howard thought he was going to get a pick. He had 4 last year, has 1 already this year.
Well, Mahomes has got to be careful. He's trying to make a big play on every play here, just trying to throw that away. He had an open receiver. The first read is only a 5-yard throw, but at least you might get back in range where you'd have a manageable 3rd down. If you're Patrick Mahomes, you can't win it with the next throw. You just have to go through your reads.
3rd down and 26. Mahomes, deep pass that's caught at the 20-yard line. That was a long throw to Justin Stockton. Now they're in a manageable 4th down. And they're going to go for it, obviously, down 28 points here. Man, that was a toss.
Well, this is some backyard stuff now, drawing up in the dirt.
He was over here on the numbers where he threw that one to the numbers on the other side. I mean, rolling left, and we saw him throw a touchdown pass rolling left on a 4th down in the 1st quarter. Here's 4th and 8. Mahomes in trouble. Got a man open, though, and it's incomplete. A penalty flag down. Zach Austin was free. He got away from the defender, Xavier Howard.
And again, Xavier Howard thought it was going to be all-out pressure, and he could jump a route.
Prior to the pass, holding, defense number 4. 10-yard penalty, automatic, 1st down.
Instead of a turnover on downs, it's a 1st down for Texas Tech.
Well, you saw Phil Bennett there. He teaches his secondary to jump routes when it's all-out pressure because he knows he's going to get to the quarterback. But Pat Mahomes is just buying a little bit more time than this team is ready for.
There you see it. Howard grabbing a hold of Zach Austin. They haven't been able to cover Austin in this game. They hand it off. Here's Washington to the 4-yard line for 6 yards. Brought down by Bo Blackshear. Second and goal for Texas Tech. 4.5 minutes remaining. And Washington and White in the backfield again. And here's White. He gets knocked down at the 3-yard line. Blanchard and Young team up on the tackle. Tech right back to the line for 3rd and goal.
They did not want to let Baylor substitute. They're trying to get to an unbalanced line and keep that same Baylor personnel on the field, and Baylor's just going to call a timeout.
Back in Arlington, Baylor up 42-21 over Texas Tech. The 2 previous plays for Baylor on defense. Defensive coordinator Phil Bennett not happy with the staff's inability to substitute, get the right personnel on and off the field. Not a lot of sense of what's going on right now on this sideline defensively. Now they're finally lined up, and we've got another penalty in front of us, this time on offensive false start.
42-14 the score.
False start. Offense number 51. 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
They had a trick play called there. They snapped the ball directly to DeAndre Washington. You had Patrick Mahomes up making it look like he was making a call. This was from the sideline. Cliff Kingsbury, a little razzle-dazzle. They were going to run power. Now that play's been exposed. They can't run it.
Tony Morales in for the injured Justin Murphy at right guard. He was the man that moved early. 3rd and goal now from the 8-yard line. Another penalty marker down.
Prior to the snap, delay of game.
Wow.
Offense, 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Well, keep your composure. You got to keep your composure, especially if you're down as much as Texas Tech is. Now it's 4-down territory. Know that. They've got to get a touchdown here.
10 yards in penalties, and now it's 3rd and goal from the 13. Mahomes, end zone, what a catch! Touchdown, Tony Brown. Oh my goodness, Ryan Reed was right in his grill, and the true freshman pulled it in.
Well, Tony Brown has had a rough go of it early in this game, a drop touchdown and a costly penalty. But you see why the coaching staff still has him out there. The talent to go up and get that football and make a play. It's just the consistency that you want from true freshmen that's not always there.
First collegiate touchdown for Brown. The point after makes it 42-21 Baylor with 4 minutes to play. Mahomes with 3 touchdown passes, and Brown with his first. Aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Here at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, and next door, the Rangers trying to hold off the Astros and Angels atop the American League West. And the Angels just scored 5 runs in the 9th to take the lead over Texas 11-10. 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th. Great time of year with the baseball playoffs around the corner. We're in the meat of conference play now in college football. NBA and NHL about to get started. Here's K.D. Cannon taking it out. And Cannon fumbled the ball. There's a flag down as well. Baylor's got it back. So it'll be Baylor ball. John White forced the fumble, and it was recovered by the Bears. Davion Hall. Final, we're told the Angels did beat the Rangers 11-10. So a big win for the Angels down the stretch here.
There is no foul on the play for a low block, first down.
Time now for our Aflac trivia question. All right, Cliff Kingsbury, one of 3 current FBS coaches that finished in the top 10 in Heisman voting that went on to play in the NFL. Can you name the other 2?
Well,
yeah, the head ball coach. All you needed to say was, well, that's one. That's obvious. What about the other one?
We're not having a great year down here.
The other one, you should know that one. That's all I'll say. So Baylor starts this drive short of its 20-yard line. And a big hole for Linwood again. All the way to the 27-yard line. All right, here's the answer. Quickly. What do you got?
Oh, quickly? Normally I have like a couple of plays or a series.
No.
I didn't know. Well, you know what? I did not know that. I didn't know that he finished top 3 in the Heisman.
The top 10 in the Heisman as Russell is all the way past midfield. Our Aflac trivia question. You have there's 3 guys.
Sorry, I didn't know who was the top 10 in the Heisman.
And I had no idea either, if it makes you feel any better.
I just knew Steve Spurrier won the Heisman.
Yes.
Because he beat my dad, who came in second.
Right. 1966.
Yeah.
Russell airing it out. Single coverage downfield, incomplete. Intended for Katie Cannon, now a flag. Nigel Bethel dragged down Katie Cannon.
He just got there too early. He thought the ball was coming down, and he goes ahead and tackles him.
Defense number 1. 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
I mean, how'd you like to play corner? You know, with these guys running down the field, you don't know where the football. They're faster than you. They're bigger than you, and you've been put on an island. So because you can't stop this internal running game.
You don't want to play corner, safety, or linebacker. You don't want to play corner or safety against Baylor because they're receivers. You don't want to play linebacker because number 80 coming through the hole to block you.
4-10 on an ISO.
McGowan is not in the game here. Jefferson straight ahead, stood up at the 29. Gain of 3 or 4. Baylor, the #1 rushing offense. And I know you can say, well, yeah, SMU, Lamar, and Rice, they're going to run and throw successfully against those teams. But you got probably a NFL player at left tackle, other good people up front, talented backs, and they've been a good running team the last 5 years. They've had a 1,000-yard rusher each of the last 5 years. Linwood was over 1,200 last year. They have 236 in this game. Actually, more rushing yards than passing yards in this game. A strike to Lee inside the 20. A missed tackle. DBs are backing up. And then finally, Nigel Bethel on the stop. First and goal, Baylor from the 6.
Baylor's not going to lead the country in rushing, but if the rushing opens these kinds of lanes for the wide receivers, and they'll finish the year in the top 15 rushing, and if they finish in the top 10, then they'll be in the national championship game. That's how important that running game is for this Baylor offense.
And look, Juan McGowan is in, and they try to run behind him. Russell got maybe a yard. Good pursuit by Texas Tech.
Well, we need to get with Art Briles in the laboratory and get, you know, number 80's hands on the ball inside the 5-yard line here. You got to feed the big man.
Well, his one career catch was last year in the Cotton Bowl. We'll see if he gets another one here. Right now, we're going to check in with Cassidy in the studio.
Thanks, Dave. Let's check out this Buffalo Wild Wings wild play between the hedges. Minkah Fitzpatrick blocks the Georgia punt and walks it. The Tide, they've also tacked on another touchdown, 24-3 at the half. Dave, Brian?
Well, think about it, Cassidy. In the game at home against Ole Miss, they had 5 turnovers in that game, right? It's easy to look back and say, well, if you don't turn the ball over, maybe you win the game. But they were their worst enemy that night. And I think we're seeing the real Alabama today against Georgia.
Yeah. Well, and there were a lot of balls that bounced the right way for Ole Miss in that game, specifically that long touchdown. So you knew Alabama was going to respond if they got consistency at that quarterback position.
So now they got Clemens Valdez in at fullback, and they got McGowan lined up as a tight end. They're going to run in between both those guys. Jefferson down to the 2-yard line. So it'll be 3rd down and goal. And they just added Clemens Valdez to the roster. He's 295 pounds.
Well, he had retired. He's a senior, and he was helping the coaching staff. When they lost Trevon Armstead, they needed another body at tight end, so he came out of the staff room.
Here's a bootleg. Russell will take it in for the touchdown. Second rushing touchdown of this game. 5th touchdown that Russell has accounted for overall today.
And he's got to give an assist to the big man. Take a look here. He's going to seal that edge. Probably a good idea to run his direction, but that's an easy touchdown for Seth Russell.
Looked like maybe Russell was doing some talking there too. Back at Deshaun Johnson. And Art Briles doesn't look happy. It may be because of that. He was looking back at the defensive back there. I mean, there's been a lot of jawing between these two teams throughout this game. 49-21 Baylor. The finest moment for Laquan McGowan. Last year, all of a sudden you see a guy wearing number 80. Wasn't even on the roster. And
look at the movement, though. Look at the burst there, you know.
Here he's in warm-ups catching the ball one-handed.
Look at this. 410 pounds, 6'8", snatching that football. You know, one of the things, and this is him trying to get Johnny Jefferson trying to help him. You got that much beef, you know. It's hard to get that jersey down. But, you know, he wears, his size shoe is 21. But he wears a size 18 football shoe, and he says, you know, it hurts my feet, but the size 21's too heavy. I can't run as well. I feel really fast with the 18s on.
Well, this guy was a basketball player in high school. He won the state championship in the shot put. He was a kicker as well as being an offensive lineman in high school. Evans kickoff taken out by Grant. Grant to the 23-yard line. All right, check out this split screen. You got one guy that you'll never see another 6'7", 410-pound guy. Then a 6'9", 275-pound defensive end. There's two guys on this Baylor roster you won't see anywhere else, not just in college, but in the NFL.
Well, you know, if you're a unique athlete, Baylor's a place to go. I mean, Art Briles, he'll find something for you to do, and those two guys definitely, they broke the mold. And Art Briles says, you know, everything we do with Laquan is an experiment because we don't have any model to go by, and so far they're finding ways to get him involved.
Both McGowan and Oakman were captains before today's game. All right, 90 seconds left in the half. Texas Tech with the ball. Over the middle, Tony Brown. Brown across the 35, dragged down to the 41, and he fumbled the ball. It was recovered by Chance Watts. Was he in bounds? Yes, he was. Turnover by Texas Tech.
Is a fumble recovered by the defense. First down, Baylor.
Blanchard with the forced fumble, was with the recovery.
And again, it's Tony Brown. The ups and downs. Was his knee down? Looked like he may have been down before that ball came out. Take a look at the left knee. Yeah, that ball was, his knee looked like it was down before that ball came out.
Yeah, I thought his left knee was down. So they'll take some time looking at this one.
Coming out. It looked like it may have been coming out.
The fumble is under further review.
From that angle, that was the best angle we had. It looked like he may have lost control of that ball before his knee hit the ground. And again, the ruling on the field is important to note.
All right, let's bring in a rules expert, Doug Rhodes. What did you think looking at it? And
well, once that knee is down, of course, there can be no fumble, and they're virtually simultaneous. I mean, it looks to me, I mean, the ball does start to here. We see it coming up here right now. And the ball, once he begins, it's loose before the knee. That's got to be a fumble. That's got to stand.
Doug, a question is, so if the fumble happens at the if you say simultaneous to the knee going down, do they just revert back to what the ruling on the field was?
Correct. In other words, if you don't know from replay, then you know it stands. Yeah. So
how are you supposed to rule it when it's live, though, when it's simultaneous?
Well, that's the purpose of replay, is to fix those things, because when the official sees it full speed, real time, one look, the beauty of replay is it does come in and repair it. But you know, these close of plays, that's critical.
And Doug, obviously they're looking here too to make sure that Chance Waz recovered it in bounds.
Right. If that loose ball is recovered while his foot's out of bounds, then that would be a fumble out of bounds.
And
I
does
can't
he have
tell
possession there? It's hard to tell. If he's got possession there with that left arm on the sideline before he's actually securing the ball.
Yeah, we'd have to see it down the sideline view. Right there, it looks like he's in contact with the sideline. Left arm looks like it was in contact with the sideline.
But if our first statement was that this is going to be a fumble, if that's confirmed on the field, right, that's most important. And I don't know, it looked like his left arm may have been out of bounds.
Right. And he still doesn't have possession there, but if his left arm touches, that's a fumble out of bounds.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think he had possession of it until after that left arm had touched the sideline. But again, it has to be indisputable video evidence beyond all doubt for it to be overturned.
Correct. And again, sometimes you just don't have the view.
And this is huge because if it remains Texas Tech ball, they got plenty of time to score. You're basically giving Baylor a touchdown if it's Bear football because Tech hasn't been able to stop them. And now you're down 35 points going into the locker room.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands. First down.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was the point is that you cannot overturn the ruling on the field, which was that Baylor recovered it in bounds. There wasn't enough evidence to overturn that. It was two pieces there, the fumble and whether he was in bounds.
That's the second lost fumble today by Texas Tech. They had not fumbled the ball away coming into the game. There's 3 turnovers in the last 4 possessions by the Red Raiders. Baylor trying to outdo TCU. They led 30-0 over Texas in the first quarter. Doug Rhodes was at that game too, by the way, as Linwood takes it to the 40-yard line. Only a couple yards there. 1 minute to go here in the half. Baylor playing its Big 12 opener, 5th straight year. The Bears are 3-0. They're at Kansas next week. They have West Virginia after that. They have Oklahoma at home. They're at TCU. Thanksgiving weekend. Russell hands it off. And Linwood dragged down short of the first down. 3rd down coming up here.
Well, you play TCU and Baylor back-to-back. And defensively, Texas Tech, they've been on their heels.
Russell will keep, and he can't get outside. Brandon Jackson on the stop. It's 4th down.
Take a look at these numbers. The last 6 quarters, that's TCU in the first half of Baylor. Those are some pretty eye-popping numbers.
So a timeout taken by Baylor. 15 seconds remaining. 4th down and 4. All right, let's take a look at this week's college football rankings brought to you by Capital One. We're a month away from the first college football playoff committee rankings. Ohio State down at Indiana 10-6. The Hoosiers gave them some trouble a few years back in Bloomington. Ole Miss at Florida tonight on ESPN. Michigan State had that big lead over Purdue and hung on. Talked about the Alabama game. Clemson, Notre Dame tonight on ABC.
And Utah with the bye, they'll have a big matchup with Cal coming up next week. And Cal is having all they could handle with the Washington State crowd.
Yeah, 14-7 last time I saw that score. Wazoo leading at Cal. 4th down and 4 for Baylor inside the Texas Tech 40-yard line. Russell flushed out of the pocket and throws it away. It is intercepted. It's Tech ball either way. J.J. Gaines with the pick. 7 seconds remaining in the half.
And that play did not have a chance from the start. Texas Tech brought some pressure off the edge. Seth Russell, unfortunately, he rolled to the side where he didn't have any eligible receivers. Everybody was on the other side. And then late, tried to get the football. His arm got hit. That ball may have hit the ground.
Doesn't matter. It's going to be Tech ball either way. Turn it over on downs. By the way, Washington State just scored again, so it's 21-7 Washington State leading at Cal. To clean that up, 7 seconds remaining here, and Texas Tech will take a knee and a 28-point deficit into the locker room. 821 yards of total offense and 70 first-half points here in Arlington. Tech will get the ball to start the second half. We'll get you back to the studio after this message and a word from our ABC station. Back at AT&T Stadium, our halftime double check brought to you by State Farm. Baylor a yard shy of 500 in the first half. Texas Tech with 3 giveaways, and Baylor leads 49-21 over Texas Tech. Dave Pasch, Brian Greasy, Tom Luganville, and you said at the start of the telecast, hey, we'll start to learn something about Baylor today. Really its first challenge. What did you learn?
Well, the balance that they've had coming into this game, 380 on the ground, 380 through the air in each of these games, has come out and it's reared its head again. 250 on the ground and 250 through the air. They've been physical on the offensive line, got Shock Linwood to the second level where we know he can make you pay, and then to marry that play action with their skill. This is Jay Lee on the outside and their ability to get downfield and make you pay. This is the Baylor offense as affecting teams when they go play action, throwing the ball right behind the defense that has to come up to stop that rushing attack. They marry a physical run game and this downfield pass game better than anybody in the country.
251 through the air, 248 on the ground. 5 pass plays of 20 yards or more, 5 run plays of 10 yards or more. Good news for Texas Tech, and we'll get the ball to start the third quarter. It was fair caught just past the 20-yard line. Take a look at our Pacific Life game summary. How about Seth Russell accounting for 5 touchdowns in that first half? He's accounted for 21 now on the season, which leads all players in college football. He averaged 15 yards per attempt. Talked about the turnovers by Texas Tech. Also 3 dropped balls, including this one by true freshman Tony Brown. He did come back with a great catch for a touchdown later. There's another drop by Jakeem Grant. Mahomes threw for 255 yards, 3 scores. Had a stoppage of play. A penalty flag down. On the far side in the secondary around the 40-yard line. We didn't know if Mahomes would even play in this game. He was banged up last week in their 55-52 loss against TCU.
Substitution defense, 12 men on the field. A 5-yard penalty. It's first down.
Baylor came in averaging 13 penalties per game as Art Briles helps the side judge by grabbing the flag. And that is 6 penalties now on Baylor in this game.
Yeah, I think it's important, Dave, for Texas Tech and for Patrick Mahomes in the second half that they come out and try to get something going on offense. That they don't try to. They're down 4 touchdowns, but they need to play well on offense in the second half to get some confidence back in this game.
Mahomes wide open as the check down. Washington gets a huge block at the 42-yard line from Quentin White. And it's a gain of about 16.
That's a great block by White because it's clean. Gets his head in front. Doesn't put it behind the back of Orion Stewart. You're going to see him come from the right side of your screen. Gets another couple yards.
Mahomes moving outside the pocket and dumps it off to Reginald Davis. Caught it in bounds. Gain of 5. Jamal Palmer had pressure that time for Baylor.
And that's a nice job of Mahomes, just taking what the defense gives you. In the first half, we saw he tried to be too aggressive, push the ball down the field through an interception. Baylor's not going to let you throw the ball deep here probably on a consistent basis in the second half. You just need to run the offense and get completions.
Over the middle, the catch made by Austin gets the first down to the Baylor 42.
Well, you know, Cliff Kingsbury's been here before, guys. A year ago in this game, it was 42-17. It ended up becoming a one-possession game by the end of the game. They've just got to stop blowing opportunities, dropped balls, turnovers. And then on the defensive side of the football, talking with Cliff Kingsbury, after he came back onto the field, I asked him point blank, how can you change things up defensively so that you don't give this Baylor offense such defined reads from the quarterback position? And quite frankly, guys, didn't have a lot of answers. And that's where they're scrambling right now on defense.
Mahomes dumps it off to Cutie, and he is close to the first down. Well, Cliff has learned quickly. You know, he's a young guy. He's only 36, third youngest in college football. Former player. He's learned quickly how to not tell the media anything. He's got that mastered already here.
And he's not telling Luke's anything, even if Luke's asked him. I love it. It's refreshing. His frankness is refreshing. I think we need more of it in coaching in college football.
More taking other coaches to task like he did with Brett Bielema as Jakeem Grant is out of bounds at the 25.
I didn't have any problem with it. You know, I mean, he speaks his mind, and as long as you do that in a respectful way, I'm okay with it. But, you know, one answer potentially for his defense is doing what he's doing right now, which is keep the ball on offense and let your defense, don't let him play as many snaps in the second half.
Kingsbury's pass, or excuse me, Kingsbury's pass. Mahomes' pass is low and complete. Kingsbury's comments about Brett Bielema after the win over Arkansas. Bielema had made some comments about high school football in Texas and throwing the ball over the place. And, you know, Cliff took that personally. His dad, you know, longtime high school coach. And he said he's moved on from that commentary and not thinking about it anymore.
Well, I think he's learned a lot from Art Briles. Quite frankly, they're very close friends, and Art is a mentor to Cliff Kingsbury. And we know Art's very frank, and while he's not calling anybody out in public, I think you get a little sense of the edge of Cliff Kingsbury.
Mahomes with a pump fake, got Oakman off his feet, and Mahomes will run for the first down inside the 15, stays in bounds, and into the end zone for the touchdown. That's 6 rushing touchdowns on the year for Patrick Mahomes.
It's contain again on the outside. You're going to see Oakman go up in the air. You don't want to leave your feet. Oakman's 6'9". You don't need to leave your feet to bat that ball down. When Baylor's been hurt by Mahomes, it's been because he's broken contain, first with a touchdown pass and now with his feet.
49-28. Plenty of time on the clock. A 3-score game here in Arlington. Aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. That was an impressive drive by quarterback Patrick Mahomes II. 6 of 7, 48 yards through the air, and he also had a 25-yard run for a touchdown. 49-28 Baylor. Now the question becomes, can the Red Raiders get a stop? They were down by 20+ to Baylor in this game last year and came back to score to cut it to 2. A failed 2-point play, and Baylor hung on for the win. Chris Platt is deep for the Bears, and will get their first possession of the second half. This went through the end zone. It's a touchback that will come out to the 25. The numbers for Mahomes and Russell, we mentioned, look at that. 15 yards, an attempt for Russell. He's accounted for 5 touchdowns, so that's 21 on the year. Mahomes has accounted for 4, so a total of 20 on the season for him. He's thrown for over 300 yards.
How about last week, Seth Russell had 12 completions and 6 of them were touchdowns. This week he's got 11 completions and 5 of them are touchdowns. I mean, 3 of them are touchdowns.
Yeah.
Sorry.
2 rushing scores for Russell, 3 through the air. Got Laquan McGowan in at fullback. He'll maul somebody and they run the other way. And a big hole for Linwood. To the 42. Here's Cassidy in the studio.
Thanks. Number 1, Ohio State trailing Indiana 10-6 until Ezekiel Elliott busts through for a 55-yard touchdown. Ohio State with their first lead of the game, up 13-10 in the third.
And Ohio State not great offensively since week 1. Corey Coleman on the carry to the 45-yard line for about 3.
Looked like on that last run, Shock Linwood came up a little bit gimpy, holding the back of his leg. Yeah, you see him there. Devin Chafin, the other running back, already has a hamstring issue.
Russell, there miscommunication with his receiver Cannon, and if Ward could have read that better, he might have been able to pick that off.
Go back and take a look at Shock Linwood at the end of that last run. Yeah, he kind of slips there. That was his left leg and hamstring he was grabbing. It's not like they have a shortage of backs, though, Dave.
Well, you mentioned Chafin out. Johnny Jefferson's coming off, the coaches say, his best week of practice. They also have Terrence Williams, who's averaging over 7 yards a carry. We just haven't seen Williams yet in this game. Russell on 3rd and 7. And, man, wide open is Cannon for a first down at the 45-yard line.
Oh, you're right. You know, you try to play a zone coverage here. 2 deep safeties. And on the outside, just so much space there for this Texas Tech defense. And you know, you get an incompletion, you get a stop, and you bring up a 3rd down where you might be able to get off the field, and you don't even contest the receiver.
Jefferson dragged down after a gain of 4 at the 41-yard line.
Brian, you're right. He was holding his left hamstring, comes to the sideline, get treatment, and they're working on it right now, trying to stretch it out. And from the field level, guys, I don't know how it looks up to you. There's a noticeable difference between his ability to hit the hole and the other backs when he's not in the game. He's a guy they need to get back.
13 carries, 186 yards for Linwood as Russell goes deep and thrown out of bounds, but a flag is down. Bethel running with Coleman.
Well, again, Bethel doesn't get the benefit of the doubt because he doesn't look back for the football. And I know it's difficult to do when you're trying to guard one of the fastest guys in college football, and Corey Coleman.
Pass interference, defense.
Looking back, then his head turns and he kind of runs him out of bounds. Coleman didn't even see the football.
So a first down for Baylor inside the Texas Tech 30. There's McGowan in the game. Jefferson. Ball came out. One official says he's down. Dakota Allen was in on the stop. Jefferson has knees down and the ground caused the fumble. He was down anyway. 2nd and 7. Jefferson back there with Russell, big number 80 in the game. Just watch number 80, folks. Watch him here. Jefferson off the right side, dragged down at the 16-yard line, short of the first down. And we could just stick a camera on McGowan. You could have another channel. Say, watch this game on one channel, and on your other TV, watch number 80.
Well, here he is now. So he lines up last play fullback. Now he's at tight end. You know, they're using him creatively.
Jefferson to the 11, easy first down there. McGowan didn't have to work too hard on that one. There's nobody to block.
That being said, this offensive line, you know, we got to give them credit as well. Spencer Drango, Muir, Fuller up front, Broxton, Colbert, all of them returning as starters. They have 6 returning starters because Desmond Hilliard started a bunch of games a year ago. This is one of the more experienced offensive lines in the country.
Russell keeps. And he gets gang tackled at the line of scrimmage. For those that might be just joining us and you see number 80, he's on the side now, but when he's in the game and you're thinking, boy, that guy looks big. I wonder how big he is. He's 4'10", 6'7", 410 pounds. And this guy was a basketball player, a state champ in the shot put, and a kicker at one point in high school. He's an incredible athlete. We saw him catching passes one-handed in warmups.
You know, and he's got the same body fat percentage as the rest of the offensive line. I was talking with their strength coach, Kaz Kazadi, and he was telling me, you know, he's 35% body fat like most offensive linemen. So he's 410 pounds. What does that mean? Well, that means he has 100 pounds more muscle than everybody else.
We've seen him use it today on Some of these poor linebackers. Jefferson inside the 10 down to the 6-yard line. Tackled by Gima.
And he's going to be a weapon as this season goes on. He's just learning. You know, his role was accelerated because Trevon Armstead, their starting tight end, was dismissed from the team earlier this year. And his role has grown because of that. Now he needs to continue to get in shape and to learn the offense, learn the signals from the sidelines. Been one of the biggest adjustments for him. But he's going to be more and more of a role in this offense as the year goes on.
The big third down here. We have not had a field goal try by either team in this game. The Red Raiders trying to come up with a stop. Jefferson straight ahead to the goal line and in. Baylor touchdown again.
Blowing him off the ball. Blake Muir, the left guard, stretches out. Johnny Jefferson, nice stretch there, but Blake Muir, the left guard, the Australian from New South Wales at 6'6", 315 pounds, gets the movement for Jefferson to get in.
Well, to your point, we talked about McGowan for a good reason, but you got Durango, a 4-year starter, left tackle, a returning All-American. Muir, second-year starter. Fuller at center, a second-year starter. Broxton started 8 games last year. Pat Colbert, another senior at right tackle. They are very good up front. They're pretty good on the defensive line as well. And they are rolling here in Arlington. 56-28 over Texas Tech.
ESPN's College Football on ABC. Brought to you by GMC. We are professional grade. And AT&T. Mobilizing your world.
Love to see these college football games here at AT&T Stadium. Always a good turnout. A&M and Arkansas just played here. Baylor and Texas Tech for the 5th straight year here at AT&T Stadium. Cotton Bowl, BCS championship game was played here. Or excuse me, the first college football playoff championship game was played here. Spencer Evans will kick it off. Baylor scoring drives. How about this? 85, 75, 92, 89 yards, 59, 81, 75, and then 25. Quentin White, they've been kicking it to him to try to keep it away from Jakeem Grant, and boy, he's taken a pounding. Flag down at the 33-yard line. Baylor has 5 rushing touchdowns in this game and 3 passing touchdowns.
During the return, block in the back, receiving team number 83. 10-yard penalty from the end of the run. First down.
Well, Pat Mahomes II is the quarterback. His dad, Pat, was a major league pitcher for 12 years. Spent time with the Twins, Red Sox, was in the playoffs with the Mets in 1999. Also with the Rangers, Cubs, and Pirates. And Pat here today watching his son. The Rangers just across the street lost today, blew a lead, lost 11-10 to the Angels, so their lead shrinks in the AL West. Midway through the 3rd quarter, Pat Mahomes II looked pretty good. He's had some drops, throwing for over 300 yards, and wide open here is Stockton. To midfield before he's taken down by Chance Waz.
This wheel route has been open all game for Texas Tech. They run a receiver deep down the field, and then they follow with the wheel out of the backfield. Been very effective against the quarters coverage that Baylor likes to employ.
Got an injured Baylor player.
They go come the wheel out of the backfield. It's a 3-level flood. We've seen it consistently, and Baylor has not shown a ability to cover that, and Cliff Kingsbury is just going to continue to run it.
Are you surprised that Baylor has struggled like they have defensively today?
Well, this is a very explosive offense. You have to first give credit to to Cliff Kingsbury and the weapons that they have. And Patrick Mahomes doesn't flinch. Doesn't matter. He extends plays. He makes it very difficult. You know, when this defense has broken down, it's really been because they've lost contain on the quarterback, and he's extended plays. So I don't think it's a surprise. I think this defense has played kind of as we thought they would.
Mahomes to throw and fires it deep. Incomplete. Tried to hit Cutie.
No, when you look at Patrick Mahomes, guy, he was a top 22 quarterback in the 2014 class. One of the things that we liked about him is a little bit of what you're seeing today. He has that riverboat gambler's mentality. The play's never dead. Now, sometimes that can be high risk, high reward, as we've also seen. But his raw intangibles and his tools are something that Cliff Kingsbury's going to be able to grow with over the next couple of years, as you see him here trying to create. And then again, just get the ball out of bounds, live to play the next down. That's going to be something with maturity as he goes on that he's going to have to learn how to do. And that's when to take calculated risks and when to make sure he doesn't take negative plays that could lead to catastrophic plays. But as you guys can see here, some sandlot plays for him that make the offense very exciting.
3rd down and 10 here for Mahomes and company on the other side of midfield. Pressure coming, and the screen pass is nearly intercepted, and it probably would have been a touchdown for Pat Levels had he pulled it in.
Well, he read it perfectly. This is a screen that Texas Tech has run several times in this game, and this is the thing that, you know, Tom mentioned what he likes about Pat Mahomes. This is what I don't like is that he's a little careless with the football. He just threw that screen out there without even looking, and it should have been a pick six.
Baylor had 12 guys on the field again. Phil Bennett recognized it, called timeout as the flag arrived from the back judge.
First charge timeout of the half. Baylor.
Tech was going for it on 4th and 10. It would have been 4th and 5, but they were able to call timeout.
ESPN, home of the college football playoff.
After tonight's Pac-12 matchup between Oregon and Colorado, keep it locked in the Sports Center at night. Catch a complete college football wrap-up plus a pennant race update. Sports Center at night following Oregon-Colorado on ESPN.
You can tell it's a crazy college football season when you don't know how that Oregon-Colorado game is going to turn out. That could be a good game.
An unranked Oregon team. Hawthorne with a fair catch around the 11. Let's get an update on the top-ranked team in the country from Cassidy.
Yeah, thanks. After a Cardale Jones interception, Indiana takes advantage. Divine Redding goes 11 yards for a second TD of the day. Ohio State down 17-13 on ABC or ESPN2.
So funny how the narrative changes week to week as you see Baylor with a 15 50-point game since 2013, ahead of Oregon and Ohio State for the most in college football. But remember, after week 1, everybody said, oh, Ohio State, man, they don't play anybody till Michigan State, right? And here they're down to Indiana in the second half.
Yeah, it's, I mean, Indiana's a pretty good team.
Jefferson able to fall forward and get a couple of yards. Well, one of the reasons that Baylor has been so successful offensively is they've had great quarterback play. We talked about Robert Griffin III winning the Heisman, and then you go with Bryce Petty following Nick Florence, Seth Russell, and they just plug-and-play guys that have talent, know the system. Compare
and contrast that to what's going on in Texas right now, the quarterback situation. And, I mean, you don't have a quarterback, then you don't have an offense.
Pass is caught by Coleman. He's wrapped up short of the 20-yard line, bringing up a 3rd down. And they've got a true freshman in Jarrett Stidham behind Seth Russell that they think is going to be great.
Well, I watched him in practice yesterday, and he can spin it now. I mean, he's a highly recruited guy. You know, Tom knows all about him, but that position for Baylor is in good hands going forward, it seems like. But the other thing is they have hit on their evaluations of wide receivers to go along with those quarterbacks. So you do those two things as well as Art Briles has done, and now starting to mix in that physical offensive line up front, and that's why Baylor's the best offense in the country.
Pass behind, Coleman incomplete.
Fellas, in the last probably couple of years, I would say that Jarrett Stidham was one of my favorite quarterbacks to evaluate in the class because he has some things that you can't coach. I think when it's all said and done, he may go down, whether it was Art Briles at Houston, Art Briles here at Baylor, is the best quarterback that he's had playing this offense. They're really excited about him. They've burned the red shirt. They've played him. They feel really good about the next 3 to 5 years at quarterback. And to your point, Brian, these wide receivers, they've done an unbelievable job of recruiting athletes, popping the ball out here to the perimeter right now, of recruiting athletes that out of the high school level played on both sides of the ball. Davion Hall, Corey Coleman was a safety and a wide receiver. K.D. Cannon played everywhere. These guys have done a great job of identifying not only a great player, but the right player for what they do.
That last pass looked like it may have hit the ground. It was ruled a catch. So you think, Tom, that he'll be better than a guy that won the Heisman Trophy in Robert Griffin III?
I think for this offense and the reliability of what they're going to do with, see, I think this scheme here is going to only get better with more personnel around the quarterback than maybe they had in the earlier days at Baylor, which is going to accentuate the quarterback.
Incomplete as Coleman was being defended by Bethel. And they force a punt, 4th down.
Stop the presses. Give Bethel some credit here. He's in good position. The difference is he looks back for the ball, Dave.
Yeah.
He didn't look back the last time he was in that situation, got called for a PI. That time he's in good position, looks back, and he gets the conversion.
So Galitz will punt it to Cameron Batson.
They'll leave it to Tommy to put a little pressure on the kid. You know, he hasn't even stepped on the field yet. He's being compared to the Heisman Trophy winner.
Well, I guess if you consider the type of NFL player that RG3 has been, I don't know if that's where Tom was going with that, but Tom, go ahead.
Well, when you take a look at what they've been able to accomplish in recruiting, and keep in mind, winning breeds recruiting success and vice versa. Look at the guys like we've mentioned, Corey Coleman, K.D. Cannon, Jarrett Stidham, who we just spoke of. These are just their offensive producers right now. And let's just take a guy like K.D. Cannon, for example. He's a prime example of how a program shift changes in perception based upon wins. Because 5 years ago, a K.D. Cannon does not sign with a Baylor. That's how far this program's come under Art Briles.
That's a great point. More than that in a second here as Mahomes is flushed out of the pocket again, throwing on the run, and it's caught by Grant inside the 40-yard line. But just to finish up on that point, think of where Baylor was before Art Briles took over. They've won 11 games each of the last 2 years. A decade ago, they were lucky to win 4 games. And they had no facilities. Now you go to campus, they've got great facilities. They've got one of the best looking stadiums in the country. And they've got a program that's going to be good for a long time. Mahomes pitches it back to Grant, who's in trouble.
You know, the other thing, Dave, that I think sometimes we forget is you mentioned going back to when Art Briles got the job. Where would Baylor be if the Big 12 hadn't survived realignment? Right? Baylor would have been left at the altar. Texas would have been fine, Oklahoma, all those. But that Big 12, you know, sticking together really allowed Art Briles to start to build the foundation. And now the next step is even brighter because of the new stadium and new facility.
Mahomes taking off here. A flag down as Mahomes is dragged down by Lettles. Here the original line of scrimmage. Bringing up a 3rd down.
Holding offense number 51. 10-yard penalty. Repeat 2nd down.
Baylor accepts the penalty. It'll be 2nd down and more than 20. So look at the 7 years under Briles and the 12 years before. They didn't even go to a bowl game. And they won basically 1 conference game per year before Art Briles arrived. And even his first couple years, it was a struggle to get things going, but they have it rolling now. And it's not just the guys on offense that they're getting. It's Andrew Billings, who's from Waco. It's Sean Oakman on defense, a transfer from Penn State as Mahomes dumps it off to Washington at the 40-yard line.
Yeah,
if they can churn out defensive players and put them in the NFL, that's going to take Baylor even to another level in terms of recruiting.
Well, and that'll be a challenge. I asked him last night, I said, are there any high school corners in the state of Texas? Why can Texas Tech not have a corner? Why is Baylor struggling at the corner? Everybody in the Big 12. And he said all the players are playing on offense because of the style of offense that's being run in high school in Texas.
Grant out on the flat. Brought down to the 38-yard line. Xavier Howard leading the charge, so 4th down and long.
But, you know, the corner position, fellas, is such a difficult position to project anyway. Like, even when a guy's playing on defense full-time, he's hard to find on film. You know, it's tough to navigate intangible factors. But when everybody's running the spread, what do high school coaches want to do? They want to take their best athlete, put him in the shotgun, and give the ball each and every play. And so it's hard. You're projecting the corner position going forward, and that's hard for coaches at any level in any conference.
4th down and 12 here for Texas Tech. A flag down. Be 4th and 17.
Ball start. Offense number 51. A 5-yard penalty. It's 4th down.
Well, that just goes to show you how much football has changed, because we're talking with Art Briles. He said when he was a head coach in high school, all his best players, he'd put them on defense. And now the opposite is true.
I know they're down 4 scores, but it's 4th and 17. Why not at least try to punt, pin him deep one more time, maybe get a takeaway finally in defense. But they're going to go for it on 4th and 17. And Mahomes, running out of real estate, just throws it up for grabs. And it's intercepted by Blanchard. He probably should have just knocked it down. Baylor back on offense, and we return. The offensive Baylor put up 499 yards in the first half. Corey Coleman has 2 touchdown catches. Seth Russell with 3 touchdown passes in the game and 2 rushing touchdowns, as Baylor has put up 56 points on Big 12 rival Texas Tech. In the 74th meeting, series all even coming in. And Russell, making just his 5th career start, has been terrific, and he is the nation's leader in not only passing touchdowns, but touchdowns responsible for, with a total of 5 more today, 21 on the season through, remember, 4 games for Baylor because they had a bye already. Shock Linwood tackled, but is he Linwood back out there? He was hurt earlier in the game. You know, Davis, it's kind of interesting to think about Seth Russell. He committed to go to Kansas to play for Turner Gill, and he wasn't very highly recruited coming out of high school here in Texas, and Turner Gill signed him, and then he gets fired, and then Charlie Weiss comes in, and Charlie Weiss doesn't honor the scholarship offer to Seth Russell. He brings in Jake Heaps, and so Seth Russell was really left out there with nowhere to go, and it was Philip Montgomery, and that kind of got him to Baylor. David Beatty, who was the offensive coordinator at Kansas, knew Art Briles a little bit, and Seth called David Beatty and said, I'm thinking about going to Baylor, and Beatty gave Art Briles a rousing recommendation saying you cannot go wrong going to play for Art Briles. And he came and he sat and he learned. He didn't transfer like we see this epidemic of quarterbacks transferring when they don't get the job right away. He's waited his time, and now he's got the keys to a pretty nice, shiny, brand new car. It's his team for the next 2 years. He is a redshirt junior. Been terrific on 3rd down in this game, and a 3rd and 6 here from the Baylor 22. Russell taking off, and he'll come up short. So a 4th down for the Bears. They'll punt it away. Close in on a minute to go here in the 3rd quarter. By the way, Baylor is at Kansas next week, so even though Charlie Weiss isn't there, Seth Russell will get to go and play at KU. Yeah, it was interesting in kind of getting the background on that story. You know, he was almost resigned to go to Louisiana Lafayette or Louisiana Monroe, one of those, until this Baylor opportunity kind of came up. And how many times have we seen Art Briles do that, is to find unique people, unique guys that have been overlooked. He's had to build this program on that. Now he's getting the cream of the crop. But before that, he was really having to find the diamond in the rough. Batson has to back up for this booming kick. Fields it inside his 15-yard line. He's across the 20. Grabbed to the ankles by Davion Hall near the 25. Penalty flag is down. A couple of yards ahead of that at the 27. Has there been a block in the back on every punt and kick today? Come on, Reggie, surprise me.
During the return, block in the back, receiving team number 88. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Nostradamus.
All right, Cassidy, let's check with you. Back in the studio.
Thanks, Dave. Number update on Ohio State, Indiana. On 4th and inches, Ezekiel Elliott busts through for a 65-yard touchdown. He's putting this team on his back. 17 carries, 190 yards, 2 touchdowns. Ohio State back on top, 20-17.
And it might be the best running back in the country. There are a lot of good ones, but he's up there. Austin is free across the 40. There's a flag in the backfield as Austin is run on a play across midfield. But I'll take a wild guess and say this one's coming back.
An eligible receiver downfield on the pass. Offense number 62. 5-yard penalty. Repeat first down. Baylor has been issued their first sideline warning. First sideline warning for Baylor.
The Raven Clark guilty party flag downfield. Although, you know, he has had an outstanding game, I must say. I've been watching him a little bit. Going up against Sean Oakman. This is one of the better left tackles in all of college football. He will be a very high draft pick after this season is over. He's a 6'6", 315-pound senior.
We played 3 quarters here in Arlington. ESPN College Football will continue after this message and a word from our ABC stations. In about 25 minutes over on ESPN from the Swamp, it's Florida and number 3 Ole Miss. Gators are ranked for the first time in 2 years. College football primetime presented by Hilton. Through 3 quarters here in Arlington, 84 points and over 1,000 yards of total offense. Tech backed up to its own 5. DeAndre Washington on the carry on 1st and 15 gets a couple. Patrick Mahomes has got 3 touchdown passes, 1 rushing touchdown in the game. He's been outplayed by Seth Russell, who's accounted for 5 scores. 2nd and 13. Mahomes pass behind Austin incomplete. So we talked earlier about how, you know, Alabama had those turnovers. That certainly helped in its loss to Ole Miss. What do you make of Florida right now? They had the come from behind win last week.
Well, they showed,
Tennessee.
yeah, I mean, they showed some resilience against Tennessee. Certainly, they easily could have lost that game. Probably should have lost that game. So, you know, Florida still has some issues, especially on the offensive side. And Will Greer, in particular, big throw down the sideline from Pat Mahomes to his true freshman Tony Brown. But you know, then they have the flu they got to deal with on top of that, which will be interesting to see. But I think they have a shot because of their defense. And when you have Chad Kelly in that kind of environment, very hostile environment, you never know what's going to happen.
And got an injured Baylor player in front of the Texas Tech bench.
What do you think? What do you think of Ole Miss? Are you one of these guys?
I like Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. A lot of people have number 1 in the country.
I don't know about number 1. I think Ohio State's number 1 still till they get knocked off. But I think Ole Miss is right there.
You're taking the Florida State approach with Ohio State?
No, I mean, I think Ohio State had the close call against Northern Illinois, but otherwise they've looked really good. And I think Ole Miss, look, they're better this year at quarterback, and that's the difference. They're very good defensively. Treadwell's 100%. And you got a better quarterback this year. So I think they're legit, you know, contender in the SEC. Chance Wasp was the injured Baylor player. I mean, the Florida State approach, they did that all year. I mean, this is just, you know, we're 4 games in here.
Well, Ohio State's played 1 good half of football, and that was the first half against Virginia Tech. The rest of it's been not very pretty.
Certainly Michigan State looks good as well, and this team Baylor too. as Mahomes' pass isn't complete. It's so hard at this point, and we're just getting into conference play where we really start to get a feel for who's good and who isn't good. And Michigan State, look, they let off the pedal against Air Force. Air Force made that a closer score than it should have been. I wonder if the same thing happened today against Purdue, because they had that game in hand at halftime and they won by 3. So is that a concern for the Spartans, just like maybe a concern for Ohio State going forward? Pass caught by Giles, short of the marker.
I think we're going to find out something about Mississippi State and Texas A&M in that game tonight. That's an interesting game. You know, Mississippi State lost to LSU. That was a close game, but LSU's the other team, in my opinion, that should be up there in that top 4 or 5 discussion, because they are the total package.
It's an SEC network game. Mississippi State and A&M tonight. 3rd down and 3. Mahomes' pass knocked down at the line of scrimmage. That was Blanchard.
Blanchard and Mahomes have been going back and forth, jawing a little bit, and Blanchard's trying to get, you know, his confidence up. He's a first-year starter, taking over for Colin Brentz, the nickelback. He's been jawing back and forth with Mahomes, and Mahomes needs to be careful.
4th down and 3. Texas Tech trailing 56-28. Only a 4-man rush. Mahomes backing up, in trouble, spinning around, stepping up, and dumping it off. Incomplete. Now, a lot of bodies on the ground in the backfield. There was a huge collision as Mahomes released that pass, and now he's jawing with Jamal Palmer. Baylor will take over deep in Texas Tech territory.
ESPN, home of the college football playoff.
Aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Early 4th quarter here in Arlington. And Baylor is rolling, put up 56 points on Texas Tech. In the first half, they scored 49 points and had 499 yards of total offense. They're keeping Seth Russell in the game here. Shock Linwood gets the carry. He's to the 35 for a handful. Now, coming up next here on ABC, it's Saturday Night Football presented by Wells Fargo. Notre Dame ranked 6th on the road at 12th rated Clemson. Likely a rainstorm, especially in the second half of that ball game. And Notre Dame with a close call on the road at Virginia. Linwood gets the first down, took a shot, but bounced right off the defender. Shoved out at the 17-yard line.
So low to the ground and powerful. We talked about kind of his explosion getting into those holes. He gets a lead block by Mr. Big Q, Laquan McGowan, and then he bounces off a couple defenders. They need to keep him healthy because he is a different style of back than they have with Johnny Jefferson.
Now look at Terrence Williams at 6'2", 215. We've seen him run with some power so far this season. We haven't seen him in the game at all today, though. Now Baylor averaging 64 points per game, trying to get close to that on this possession, but Jefferson has stood up at the line of scrimmage by Brandon Jackson. Baylor is Kansas next week, then one of the 2 teams to beat them last year, West Virginia, on October 17th, and Baylor will carry into that game an 18-game home win streak. That's the longest active home winning streak in college football. Russell completes it to Coleman. Great miss, going for his 3rd touchdown and in. Corey Coleman launches into the end zone, and the Bears extend their lead to 62-28.
So much talent at every position on this offense. Coleman came into this game leading the country in touchdown receptions, and it looks like he's going to add another one.
That's 11 receiving touchdowns for Coleman. Leads the country in receiving touchdowns, has the most 20-yard pass plays in college football. Last year he had over 1,100 yards and 11 touchdowns, and he missed a quarter of the season because of a hamstring injury. 4th touchdown pass for Seth Russell. 3rd receiving for Coleman. All Baylor.
ESPN's College Football on ABC. Brought to you by Pacific Life. For life insurance, annuities, and investments, choose Pacific Life. The power to help you succeed. And Nissan, premier partner of the Heisman Trophy.
A spectacular day in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Temperature about 80 degrees outside. And look at that, we're over 1,100 yards of total offense. And almost at 100 points.
91.
Yeah. Look at the rushing total for Baylor. They came in averaging 380 yards per game on the ground, number 1 in the country. They have 340 in this game. And Linwood has been the story there. He's got 214 on the ground on 17 carries. That's 12.6 yards a pop for Linwood. So Patrick Mahomes is done for the day, and he threw for over 400 yards, accounted for 4 touchdowns. He did have 2 interceptions, but all in all, he played well. There were a couple of drops. He would have had over 500 yards passing. 2 drops on long balls that were definitely catchable, and 1 would have been a touchdown, certainly. So Davis Webb is in. Webb has 44 career touchdown passes. That's 7th all-time at Texas Tech. Started 14 games, 8 last year.
And we thought he might start this game if Mahomes was not able to go. But he's got plenty of arm and plenty of experience.
No running room for Washington. Brought down for a loss by big Andrew Billings, who really an underrated player, one of the strongest guys in college football.
Oh, yeah, I think he's the best player they have on defense, even better than Oakman. Oakman gets a lot of the talk and attention because of his size and what he looks like, but Billings brings his hard hat every single day. He's one of the more explosive players on the inside. It's very difficult to block him.
Pass by Webb is on the money. Short of the first down. Caught by Giles. Check that by Austin.
Sorry, I would argue they're going to need Billings more when they go up against some of these teams like Oklahoma with that running game and Samaje Perine. He is a nightmare for centers in the Big 12. There's not a center he doesn't handle on a consistent basis.
3rd down and 1. Webb's pass is caught again by Austin to first down. And talking with some of the Texas Tech people, they were saying they think the 2 best players on offense for Tech are Mahomes and Webb. And that's a good thing if one guy gets hurt, but it's a bad thing because that means you need more at the skill positions. Now, Jakeem Grant has been shut down for the most part in this game. He did have a drop. DeAndre Washington, a good player, but he's been kept in check. Webb airing it out, and it's broken up at the last second by Reed, intended for Tony Brown.
Well, and Ryan Reed knows, he understands he's going to be the one on this Baylor defense that's targeted. Not only in this game, but for the rest of this season. It happened to him a year ago, Dave. And this is where they gave up a lot of points, is when they left Reed in one-on-one situations. You know, and talking with his defensive coordinator, Phil Bennett, and his head coach, Art Briles, they say, you know, he fights. He's a competitor. He knows what he's good at and what he struggles with. They understand his limitations, and they're going to roll with him.
Batson open in the middle of the field. Batson being chased from behind, and they catch up to him at the 25-yard line. Well, the problem is they just don't have depth at that corner position. Tion Wright's a guy that's played. You got a redshirt freshman in Jordan Blake that they could play as well at corner.
Yeah, Tion Wright's another guy that we saw when Xavier Howard went out, Ryan Reed went out. He would come in and play. But this is a style of defense for Baylor that Phil Bennett wants to be aggressive, and at times he will leave those guys on an island, and he understands that they're going to make plays downfield, but he puts a lot of faith and stock in his offense scoring enough points as well.
First down for the 25-yard line. DeAndre Washington to the 21. 4 yards there, brought down by Orion Stewart.
But if the difference for Baylor this year in being that 5th-ranked team rather than being the 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st-ranked team and getting in that playoff, if the difference is Phil Bennett and his defense getting 2 or 3 more stops or 1 or 2 more turnovers in a game, then I think this defense so far this season has proven that they can do that. And 28 points against a very good Texas Tech offense.
Coming in, they're known as a defense that takes the ball away from the opponent. They'll make plays in the backfield. A lot of tackles for a loss. Sean Oakman, it's hard for a guy to play as many snaps as he has to play on defense, and Billings for that matter.
They should only play 60. You know, they should only play 60. That's where you get the highest impact.
Well, Tech has run 75 plays, and they've been out there for most of those in this game. 3rd down and 6. Webb off his back foot, incomplete. It'll be 4th down. By the way, just looking at Oakman, I have no idea how he'll end up doing in the NFL. But look, you played in the NFL for 11 years. I've been calling games for 15 years. I've never seen anybody in the NFL that looks like him. Have you?
No, not at 6'9". I mean, 6'9" is long, and watching him in practice yesterday, you know, his get-offs, getting through those gaps, getting up on tackles is impressive, and his length. The thing that would bother me as a quarterback would be throwing around him.
On 4th down, it's a 1st down catch by Batson.
I mean, when you're a quarterback in the NFL, you always look at the heights of defensive linemen when you get into a game. And a guy that's 6'9", he almost takes away 30 to 40% of the quick passing game to his side.
Webb to the end zone for a touchdown to Jonathan Giles. First touchdown for the freshman Giles.
And a good drive for Davis Webb. Coming in, you know, you're cold off the bench. You've watched for 3.5 quarters. Thought you might get a chance this week to come out and play some with the injury to Mahomes and come out and lead the team right down the field. And this is against the starting defense for Baylor.
First touchdown pass of the season for Davis Webb, 45th of his career. Extra point is good. 63-35 Baylor.
ESPN, home of the college football playoff.
This week on Monday Night Football, we head to the great Northwest for Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Detroit Lions at 8:15. It all starts with Monday Night Countdown, served by Applebee's at 6.
Like Jimmy Graham was starting to heat up there in Seattle. It's a weapon that if he gets going, that Seattle team, look out.
Scary for the other teams in the NFC West.
Especially look out for the Arizona Cardinals.
You mean the 3-0 Arizona Cardinals? As it be a touchback, it'll come out to the 25. Let's take a look at today's Good Hands play, brought to you by Allstate. Corey Coleman, 11 touchdown catches on the season. That leads the country, 3 of them today.
You know, we were talking with Art Briles. He said Corey Coleman is a vicious athlete. I thought that was a really good description of how he plays. You know, he does not give in to anybody, whether it's going up to get a ball or whether it's making a guy miss in the open field. When he gets wrapped up, he doesn't go down easy. A vicious athlete, I thought, was perfect description of Corey Coleman.
Just think of all the receivers they've had here at Baylor under Art Briles. This is another guy that as a receiver or a running back, he's a weapon that defenses have to think about first and foremost. And then if you give him too much attention, you got K.D. Cannon, Jay Lee. You got a 400-pound fullback you got to worry about. You got a 1,000-yard back in Shock Linwood.
It's interesting here. Art Briles leaving his starters in the game midway through the 4th quarter. You know, he's gotten some time for his backups, Stidham in particular, at the quarterback spot. But
are you surprised he's doing it here?
You just don't want to get anybody hurt. That's the thing. You don't want to get anybody hurt.
They're not coming back from 28 down with 8 minutes to go. Here's Linwood on 2nd down. And that'll bring it a 3rd down. And about 4. Again, some pushing and rubbing going on. Been a lot of jawing back and forth in this game. So third down. And I know that because of all the blowouts they've been involved in, that the backups have had a lot of reps, but I think from an injury standpoint, this game's over. Why are these guys still in the field? And try to pound it. Linwood taken down to the 33-yard line, bringing up fourth down. Devontae Hint made the stop. And especially if all you can do is just come out there and run the ball. Let Jarrett Stidham get some work. Get your backup offensive lineman in there. I'm shocked Linwood was shaken up earlier in the game. Surprised he's out there at all.
Art Briles pretty unconventional. He doesn't listen to anything. There's nothing that influences him. If he has a reason for doing something, it could be as easy as he didn't like the way their eyes looked when they came off the field on the last possession. And he is that kind of coach that doesn't care what other people think.
Batson in trouble. And down he goes. There's a penalty flag thrown around the 11-yard line. I think I know what this one is. Reggie Smith, take it away. I think they should just recorded this in the first quarter, and that way Reggie could just take a break and let his voice rest.
Well, this will be the 16th on Texas Tech.
During the return, block in the back.
Boy.
Receiving team number 27. Half the distance to the goal. First down.
All right, listen up.
Dave Fash, Brian Greasy, Tom Luganbill back in Arlington. Our Pacific Life game summary. Baylor has put up 63 points, right at its season average, averaging 9 yards per play. They have taken the ball away from Texas Tech 4 times. And most of the damage done in the first half, outscoring Tech 49-21 at intermission. Texas Tech ball inside the 5-yard line. They're going to run it here. And Justin Stockton is tackled at the 11-yard line. All right, time to take a look back at our preseason predictions. Full disclosure, as you look at mine, somebody misspelled LSU. It's not A-U-B-U-R-N. It's LSU is how you spell it.
We don't want to look at your Auburn. Here's what we want to look. This is the Big 12. 3 different picks. 3 different picks in the Big 12. You had TCU. Tom's got Oklahoma, and I got this team. I guess. Feel pretty good about my pick in the Big 12 right now.
Well, I'll bet Tom's feeling pretty good about his pick. Oklahoma with wins over Tennessee and West Virginia. TCU blew out Texas today.
I'm riding the schooner and nobody's on it with me. Boys.
Well, I think that's going to be the game of the year in the Big 12, as opposed to at the beginning of the year we all thought it was going to be Baylor TCU.
Underneath route, Austin on the catch out to the 20.
And I say that just TCU defensively has looked pretty poor. I mean, the game against Texas Tech a week ago, 52 points. Imagine what Baylor potentially can do against a defense like that.
And Minnesota couldn't score in Northwestern, and they moved the ball on TCU, the game we had that opening Thursday night.
No, it's interesting, guys, too, as we've been talking about defense. Another handoff here for Texas Tech, that sooner or later the team on defense, it's going to be there in the end, has to legitimately be a group that can contend, and not just in this conference. You know, you watch this game right now, Grease, I don't know if you agree, but Baylor looks like a team, because of the personnel they're going to face, is going to be so difficult to handle. They look like a team that's just good enough on defense. How good are they? I don't know yet, but they're just good enough off of what we've seen here.
Well, is there a team in the country that Baylor can't score 40 points on? I mean, that's the question.
Right, exactly.
Webb's pass wide open is Tony Brown into Baylor territory. Guys, I don't know that honestly we've learned anything defensively about Baylor today, and really nothing new offensively. We knew they had a good run game, and they've added to that with the use of McGowan at fullback and tight end, but
you know the question.
Nothing defensively that we gained today from this game.
The question that needs to be answered is the question that happened in both of the games that they lost last year, receiving complete pass, was at West Virginia and in that bowl game, they were unable to run the clock and run the ball in the fourth quarter to seal big leads. And what I think we have seen today is a team that has been concerted in the offseason and being able to run the football and doing it in a powerful way. And that's what Art Briles, that's the edge that he approached this offseason with. And I think that's going to be the difference for them this year.
Webb on the rollout, steps up. Throws incomplete.
Because what that does, Dave, is it protects that defense. It protects them at the end of games. And after that Michigan State loss, Art Briles and Phil Bennett were up all night texting back and forth. And what Phil Bennett told us last night is we have to create a 4-minute offense. We have to be able to run the football. And Art Briles says absolutely. And that's what I love about Art Briles and what his coaching staff loves about him. He's constantly wanting to learn and be better and be innovative. And I think that's going to make a difference.
Go ahead, Tom.
The one thing that's going to be interesting to note with Baylor as we go throughout the Big 12 slate is how would they perform offensively if they had to face a team that had real serious personnel that was too deep across the board along the defensive front? Because that's the one question that we're never going to be able to get answered, is how they would handle a front four or a group of front seven that are deep and talented and can get them off schedule, as we see the pass interference call coming here in the end zone on Baylor.
Well, we're not going to see it until the college football playoff.
Well, we saw it against Michigan State. Michigan State's front seven was outstanding.
That's what I'm saying. But they don't play a team like that
I know, but
in the regular season.
We saw they scored 41 points against Michigan State. So we know they can score 40 points on anybody.
Katie Cannon interfered with, or excuse me, Reginald Davis interfered with by Ryan Reed. I don't know about that one.
It looked like he...
Was he there before the ball got there?
Yep.
Maybe. Yeah, I just had another look at it here. He did arrive just before the ball got there. Webb trying the end zone again. Just overthrown and complete. Tried to hit Davis. On right in coverage. The Pac-12 one's interesting. What Luke's and I had USC, you had UCLA.
Yes.
You know, Cal, they're struggling with Wazoo, but with Jared Goff and the way Cal is playing, and obviously Utah. Right. Utah has one of the best wins anybody's had this year, going to Ann Arbor and winning that game. And they're number 10 in the country. Notice how Greasy got real silent there and brought up the big one over Michigan as Grant's out of bounds at the 22. That was a great win.
Pitched 2 goose eggs.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's why that win in Ann Arbor,
absolutely.
home against Jim Harbaugh's first game in Michigan.
And Luke's had Alabama on his 4 teams, and they vaulted back into that conversation with a demanding win over Georgia. 38-10.
Webb in trouble on 3rd down and 10. And almost caught. Got behind 2 defenders, incomplete.
Dave, you've referenced throughout the broadcast as we've talked about other action. Alabama turns the ball over 5 times against a really salty defense, and Ole Miss still has over 500 yards of total offense, scores 37 points. And if you've watched Alabama, their personnel, you've got to believe that almost every matchup that they're in, they're going to have a talent advantage. So what do they have to? They got to do something to screw it up to lose the game. And then you as an opponent still have to capitalize. So you still got to bank on a team that's been there as often as they have, that they're going to be a contender at the end.
On 4th and 10, an incompletion, no flag down. Turnover on downs. Here's Cassidy.
All right, Dave, Ezekiel Elliott has a TD run for 55 yards, 65 yards, and now 75 yards. Elliott has over 230 yards and 3 TDs in the second half alone, but Indiana has responded. Ohio State up 34-27 on ABC or ESPN2.
A low-scoring game to start, but now they're racking up yardage and points. It's still got 8 minutes to go in that game. Indiana still hanging around. Although I don't think anybody's going to outdo what we've had here all season. Over 1,200 yards and 98 points. 530 passing yards for Texas Tech. I know they've been down, but as Jarrett Stidham is in for Seth Russell at quarterback, that's 2 years in a row for Baylor defensively against Texas Tech, giving up that many passing yards. Stidham's going to hand it off on 1st down, and it's Terrence Williams getting the call as Art Briles has gone to the backups across the board. Jarrett Stidham, a true freshman, has thrown 15 passes this season. He originally committed to Texas Tech. And he's from Stephenville, Texas, where Art Briles coached for a long time.
And again, just watching him in practice, he's got a calm demeanor about him. He's confident. Obviously, he can throw the football. Ball comes out of his hands really well, and they said he's picked up this offense very quickly.
Stidham fires to Zamora out near midfield. Great day for Seth Russell to count. Two rushing scores, 4 passing touchdowns, so 22 touchdowns that he's accounted for in 4 games.
You know what's big right there is Seth Russell, becoming his own player. He's not Bryce Petty, not Nick Florence, not Robert Griffin. He needed to establish himself on this team, especially with those seniors, those 5 seniors up front that protect him. He hadn't proven anything, hadn't really beaten anybody. And this is the first time where he can kind of take a breath after this game, look those guys in the eye, and they look back at him and say, you know what, he produced in a big game, and now we can move forward from here. So while this, probably goes down as a lopsided victory, this is a big moment for Seth Russell, and because he's the quarterback and the driver of this Corvette, this offense for Baylor, this is a big moment for Art and Kendall Briles in their quest for a national championship.
Well, November, very difficult schedule. They've got 3 road games at Kansas State, at Oklahoma State, and at TCU. And sandwiched in between 2 of those road games, an October 14th date in Waco with Oklahoma. They do have West Virginia at home on October 17th, but their toughest games are at the back end of their schedule, and they're on the road. With the exception of the Sooners at home, as Terrence Williams runs over a defensive lineman in Brandon Jackson.
Boy, and Terrence Williams is the biggest of these backs at 6'2", 215 pounds. And he's got a physical presence about him. He is not afraid of contact, and he's been the closer in this first quarter of the season for Baylor. Come in the 4th quarter and just run over people.
So Baylor's going to win the Texas shootout and go to 4-0. Texas Tech will drop to 3-2, 0-2 in the conference, having played a pair of top 5 teams in TCU and Baylor in back-to-back weeks for the first time in school history. Terrence Williams won't go down, making the most of his time on the field here in the final seconds. And that means Baylor breaks the tie in the 74th meeting. Baylor has won 37. Lost 36 and tied once. Now Baylor put up 49 first-half points and finishes with 63 and a blowout win here in Arlington over Texas Tech as the Bears improve to 4-0 on the season, winning their Big 12 opener. A great game for Seth Russell. 4 touchdown passes, 2 touchdowns on the ground as Baylor routs Texas Tech 63-35. That's it from AT&T Stadium here in Arlington. Our final score, Baylor 63, Texas Tech 35. For Brian Greasy, Tom Luganville, our entire ABC crew, I'm Dave Pasch. So long from Arlington. And don't forget, tonight at 8 Eastern on ABC, it's Notre Dame and Clemson.